maps. Let's bring them up. Ban, ban, pick, pick, ban, ban, decider. Again, best of threes until our final. You can start off, James.
Look, what's really cool here is this is a rematch, so we can know what these teams banned and played against each other last time and see it going straight. At the moment, according to plan, Cafe previously banned by Soniqs and Empire previously banning the Chalet. So overall, everything according to plan here. Last time, Team Empire picked Clubhouse, but then Soniqs won it. So I'm curious to know how that's going to go down this time.
Yeah, exactly. The first pick coming out from Empire will be Coastline indeed. It is a great Empire map. We've been saying their praises on this map, and they've been performing well. And once again, like you said, it is Soniqs picking Clubhouse, a map that went in the other way or the other favor last time. So I hope they'll have some improvements for it.
Empire and Club.
Yeah, well, what's funny is last time Empire picked this map and Soniqs beat them on it, and now Soniqs have clearly been motivated by that. They're so confident. So far, the two maps that we've got in this BO3 are ones that each of these teams has won. Empire won Coastline last time, Soniqs won Clubhouse last time, so I'm very interested. What is the rest of this map veto going to be? Are we going to see that other map that was picked last time, which was Oregon, and Empire won that? Oregon's going to be banned out by Empire, Bank banned out by... Okay, interesting. There's a couple of things happening differently. We're heading to Villa.
Villa as our decider. How likely is that, Anne?
I would say we've had Empire. We know how strong they are on Coastline. We've seen them be strong on a Clubhouse, for example, before. I hope we'll get a really tight match. I would love to see Villa, since we didn't see it last time. I would like to see it this time for both teams.
In a way, it's Empire that has kind of decided what the new decider is going to be, because previously it was them who banned Villa and Oregon was the decider. They won it. So it goes to show Empire have a lot of respect for Soniqs. They're not just wanting to play the same three maps again.
Let's talk about Coast for just a moment here and actually go through Coast and Club as fast as we can. Our lobby's almost ready. What is there to look at coast-wise here, and with Empire picking the map?
I mean, Empire so far, they've played it 13 times and they've won it 11 times out of so far. We know that Coastline is one of an attacker favorite maps, but the funny thing is, Empire actually has a 65% defensive win rate on this map. So, as we've been saying, Empire had really good attacks in their previous matchup versus Soniqs. Their defenses aren't lacking either.
What about Club, James?
Look, Clubhouse previously was the Empire map pick, so I think I respect the Soniqs for going to it. They like this map as well. Empire are not going to roll over on this, though. For me, Soniqs, the thing that they really excel at is controlling the opening kills in a match and really making sure that they're always finding those entries. They're always trading back when the enemy finds the entries. Plus, if Kansan can clutch like he did against Dalmon Kia, then honestly, I would say Soniqs are a championship-worthy team.
Given the way that they're playing, this is the real test now of, okay, we saw how well you do when you're up against APAC. Can you transform that into a victory against Empire? Do you feel that there's a favorite going into this game, man, in general, or not really?
Something that I'm looking forward to, or a favorite, I really want to see that last map. It might actually really favor Soniqs, considering that they said, oh, we've expanded our map pool, we started playing maps a little bit more. We haven't seen them a lot on Villa so far, and just them potentially bringing out new strats. I mean, we saw the strat book. We'll have some theory crafting about what they might bring on that map, but I hope they have some exciting things that they're here to show us.
Yeah, look, for me, Villa is going to be the curveball. I think the first two maps should be pretty cut and dried, and I expect each team to take their map pick. When we head on to map 3, it's historically not a map that Soniqs have been very good on, and also it's a highly banned map for Empire, the third most banned in their map pool. They also have a negative record on it, so I expect that to be a very tight contest.
Thank you very much, James and that was our pregame for Team Empire versus Soniqs, the classic NA versus EU. How will this go? Of course, we got the Russian machine caller. It's Sam on the other side with Blue. Have fun, boys.
Thank you very much, Milos, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our second matchup of the day. Here, the playoff stage continues at Six Invitational 2022, and we have ourselves a very interesting matchup indeed. Empire, who has been rushing their way through the bracket, is up against the surprise pusher here in the Soniqs, who've managed to sneak their own way through with their own surprise victory, as they managed to 2-0 Damwon Kia in their own upper bracket matchup, a result that I don't think anyone saw coming, and now another test awaits them against the Russian machine. Stokes, how How do you think it's going to play out here as we get ready to head into map number 1?
Well, it's been very interesting for both of these teams, John. I'd say the Soniqs even more so, especially after this last year and how things were going at a lot of our majors. A lot of things looked bleak coming into this tournament, but hey, ever since Stage 3 and the Soniqs took the NAL Finals, things have been on the up and up, and they've been looking very, very solid. They also currently have the best player in the entire LAN on their team in the likes of Grixer. He's looked fantastic the entire time. On top of that, Kansan as well with some huge clutches, and a lot of factors playing into this one, but you can say that for both sides. Luckily enough, we won't have to wait too long to find some answers as to how this game is going to play out. Sunny Ibiza is up next for us.
All right, so let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Map number 1 of the series. We're going live on Coastline. You folks at home seem to be favoring Empire. We'll see if that holds itself to be true, as the Soniqs have had quite a few surprises up their sleeve so far in this tournament, and are going to look to carry them forward even more here if they can take out already the best from APAC, and now looking to take out the best from Europe as well. The bans are on the table, and the first one aligning pretty well with what we have seen traditionally in the past. Nomad getting knocked out to enable a bit more anti-roam mischief, or rather roaming mischief for Empire here, as they'll be on the defensive side. Starting to follow that one up, a Habana ban, as she once again has quite a bit of usefulness, specifically against those hookah billiard takes against the long wall. Smoke, interestingly enough, is going to be banned out next by the Soniqs. That's a bit of a curveball there. Makes perfect sense due to the proclivity of Smoke inside of the meta. However, we see it very, very rarely.
Absolutely the case, my friend. And Valkyrie, speaking of things that happen rarely, this one not so much. Valkyrie will be removed. She has been our most banned operator here at SI this time around, with how influential her info game can be. So this is going to be our banned class here for Coastline. Obviously, Smoke being the biggest one here that could have some very interesting things happening inside of the round now due to that. Won't have as much denial for the defensive end. So obviously, Empire will be starting things off on defense here, and it looks like we'll be going towards hookah billiards to start us off.
So an upstairs hold for our defenders here. Empire not going to throw any surprises at us for their initial picks. We'll see if there's going to be anything in the 6-pick department, though. Doesn't look like it. And the same can be said for the most part for our attackers. Wrexham will be bringing the Twitch in. We will see a second switch up there for Yeti going over to the line. Interesting that we see Yeti going on to that. Normally that's a role that we've seen Super take up in the past, but it seems like they're going to switch it here and put that onto Yeti instead here. Yeti, once again, another player that we've often seen take up the entry role, so probably not necessarily going to be the case this time, since they'll need that support for the late round execute. Away from that, of course, Super will be acting as the support here and providing any hard breach if it'll be necessary over the course of this round.
I'll be using the Ace instead of the Habana. Obviously, Habana banned out. They still need some ranged hard breach if they so choose. It's just better when it comes to Coastline, as you can get a hold of things like the quad wall here at the back end of billiards and things along those lines. So we'll see what the Soniqs want to try and break up here. Obviously, Empire will have some denial in the likes of Shepard, but since the mute jammers did get nerfed recently, they don't reach towards the top of those reinforcements any longer, so he'll more than likely be able to pick those up without any assistance from his team.
Super straightforward setup from Empire here as well, just in terms of how they're laying out the site. The usual reinforcements on either side of the interior hookah doorway. We're going to have the Malusis blocking off the usual rotation point there, or not the Malusis, excuse me, the laser gates coming in from Scyther rather to block off the rotation point. We will still have the Banshees in play from the Malusi though, from always, but they'll also be in a fairly expected position here. So Sonic should know exactly how to approach this. Let's see if they can execute upon it, though, as we're going to see a lot of firepower brought from Empire, but Yeti outwits it, as he indeed gets that opening kill of the round against Joystick, knocking out the Mozzie.
Huge pickup in the 417 as well here for Yeti, one that we see quite often when it comes to Lion play on this map. We've been seeing the V308 work its way in for a handful of professional players, but this time around going to be sticking with the DMR and its stopping power. Dan now looking for the drone underneath.
Didn't get it.
Hookah couch here, but not able to finally, well, we'll finally be able to secure it after trailing it there for just a little bit, but it's kind of a slow start here for the Soniqs, just simply working their way around Hookah. Don't need to go too far, as they already got that initial pick, so they'll be able to work the info game for a while, especially as Yeti can just keep things lined up here, and if they keep setting him up, he'll keep knocking them down.
Empire is continuously walking into these fights and losing players as a result of it. Finally, someone is able to pick up a response here, as always, over here towards the VIP area, possibly swing out towards the balcony, catching a player near the rappel. That's going to lead to the elimination of Grixer. A big loss for the Soniqs, though, keeping in mind the premise or the promising results we've seen out of not only him, but other members of this team like Rexon over the results earlier in the tournament, specifically against Dom 1. Rexon, though, still might be able to assist here with the F2 in hand. A very popular, very comfortable gun for our front-forward fraggers, and will be no exception here for him. But Shepard as well, able to respond and knock out not only Kansan, but with always stepping up to the plate. He'll find Rexen too. Things suddenly turning for the worse here as the Soniqs fall behind into a 2v3. Still with a little over a minute to play, but they're going to have to make their forward push in with only Yeti with a DMR and Super to assist.
It's a huge problem now for the Soniqs, but now luckily enough, Super will be able to take down Scyther. Yeti looking for one out here on the billiards double, but not able to find anything just yet. Don't have any serious insight as to where these players are. We'll be able to get rid of the Banshee here, but with 45 seconds, it can take their time. Luckily enough, on top of that, Yeti still has one EE1D that he can use to try and keep these players still and try and influence this next engagement. Super with the cross here for the hookah space. Shepard as well as Empire just in general playing this very close to the chest. They do not want to give up another frag here, especially after they were able to equalize. Yeti seemingly aware of where the player is on vibes now as he continues to push himself forward, but with the lower angle now open, Super will be able to hold these feet, won't be able to tag up the player, and oh no, Yeti loses out the fight. It's a triple for always as Empire looks to shut down this round.
That's the downside of the DMR there. A little bit hard to hit him in those clutch scenarios, so Yeti finally falters after having a relatively good round aside from that, to be completely fair to him. And then, of course, the pump from the M590 quickly shuts down the last member of the team. A promising start to the round for the Soniqs, but once they get themselves into the building, it reignites the fire for Empire. They're allowed to trade those kills back and put those two remaining members of the Soniqs in a nearly unwinnable situation despite their best efforts. It's 1-0 for Empire as they lock down the upstairs site and head into the kitchen for round number 2.
Yes, indeed. Some strong fights early for Yeti, but they were practically gifted to him inside of Sunrise. Past that, Empire taking the fight to a lot of the outside players, especially the player, the big one, on the big billiards window that they were able to secure and make things just very complicated for Soniqs when it came down to it. Unfortunately enough for the Soniqs, just not enough firepower to secure that round. So we'll move forward now as Empire secure their very first defensive round, and Dan will be bringing Oryx along for the ride.
Works, of course, going to obviously boost the roaming capability a bit here for both Dan and the rest of Empire. He can jump up either through the office hatch or any one of them strewn across the map here to be able to reignite, boost that second floor capability here and maybe act as a bit of a surprise rotation against the members of the Soniqs. They're experienced though, so they should see it coming, or at least expect it at any point in the round here, so they'll need to keep players on overwatch for that if they're going to try and assault from the top-down angles, which they certainly might try to do here. A sledge in play for Kansan, so they're going to be looking to get access to the areas shown on your screen right now here around the circle, that circle couch, and then be able to slam open all of that wood flooring to be able to chuck the grenades down, flush a couple players out of their in-sight positions, assuming there are going to be any. We have seen, of course, most of our teams in the recent meta playing it much more off the site, much more kind of across the courtyard over towards the front lobby and security areas, so it's not as much of an assured victory as it has been in the past.
Ever since they made the adjustment to the windows in the center courtyard, things have gotten a whole heck of a lot easier to play this top floor, especially if you just barricade the windows. You can rotate around the VIP space as well as playing billiards, and that's exactly what Empire is going to do. They've extended out towards the hookah side here with some reinforcements to assist the vase player. Also have the reinforcements set up in VIP with a couple inside of theater just to be able to hold onto the cross here for Penthouse. Extremely important area to hold on to when you are indeed playing kitchen, simply to deny that verticality that Kansan will try and, well, exert on towards the defense. Scyther, as of right now, will be holding on to this vase position, seemingly awaiting any Soniqs members as there are two outside. A drone will find him now as I do believe that's a Twitch drone of Rexen. Scyther will be able to hop too, though, as he'll rotate over towards Aqua and drop down the hatch into office.
And waiting for an opportunity if the Soniqs go for an entry over towards the master area. Not going to see too much action from our attackers in that department of the map just yet, however, so for the time being, the position he holds won't be able to accomplish too much. However, thankfully for them, the Soniqs themselves aren't accomplishing too much here either, as they're still spending a lot of time on their drones here, trying to figure out what they might have to watch out for when they make the initial entries, but we will start to see that come in soon. Always now going to get spotted inside of theater. They'll realize this is a much harder lock setup, and still, at least one member of the team, Kansan, is going to oblige against that here. Chucks the nade forward. Not a lot of support for this extended position that Always is currently maintaining. So he is going to take some heat from that nade, but it's way off the mark. So only about 20% of his HP getting bled away. And now Always will strike first here, taking down Kansan for the first kill of the round.
Still holding things down. EE1D out, but no pressure onto Always through the door. Continually holding on to this, but finally Rexon will stand tall as he takes down 2. Dan and Always to fall here as Soniqs take the man advantage. Low time, though. They need to get to the verticality part of the game and start clearing things out, seeing if they can apply pressure towards these site players. I believe the last EE1D, and yes, indeed, out from Yeti, with Joystick now in a pretty precarious position. Here over inside of Towels. Holding on to this for a time, seeing if he can possibly rotate out and find himself some Soniqs members. The Shepard gets drawn out in sight. Not very much time for Soniqs to get much done.
Bricks are continuing to sneak forward here to try and see if he can get an angle against the kitchen window with only 15 seconds left. This is a alarmingly calm push from the Soniqs right now, as they're still going to try to get themselves in position to swing out over here into barrels. Yeti with a good first entry for the team here as they get close to the site, but the immediate response is there's going to be a sea of blue on the kill feed here as no one can get into the site, and Grixer is just left wondering what to do as he can only find one singular trade. And again, things will end out on the null timer as we see Empire pick up a second consecutive round.
It's very slow rolling from the Soniqs as they try and gather info on that top floor, just not able to secure it in a timely manner that made it easy to actually get towards execution. So unfortunate for the Soniqs squad here as Empire will go up 2 rounds on their defensive side already. A clean 2-0, clean slate right now for the Soniqs. So they'll look to try and fix that here coming in towards the double bar.
So another shift for the boys hailing from Russia. Soniqs still yet to be able to do any serious damage to them here in terms of their round count. A possible perfect run through the sites is on the docket for Empire. That's not, of course, considering the fact that they can still rotate over towards Penthouse if they should so like. Haven't necessarily seen them going for that on the other maps, however, so good possibility they might just go directly back over towards Hookah, as it will be unlocked for round 4 regardless of the outcome of this one here. Double bars, though, still going to involve the Hookah and Billiards area quite a bit, as they'll need to extend up towards it, reinforce it probably a little bit, and try to waste some time there so that Soniqs won't have all the available 3 minutes to try and suss out the interior site positions of Empire. You can even see they're going to try to play this out a little bit towards Kitchen 2 to prevent a cutoff from being established at the bottom of Cool Vibes.
Some extra info coming in from Shepard and his evil eyes as well, just to see what's going on inside of Blue Bar. Obviously, they'll knock down the wall towards the east side as well, just like we're always accustomed to seeing. Not too much of a top hold going into this one. No dedicated utility. As Shepard will get shot in the ankle here from Scyther, but apparently not needing that too much, especially after Dan takes down Yeti. This is a huge pickup. The Lion going down this early with no utility usage, no EU1Ds now to influence their map control. That would hopefully assist them in picking off a few of these Empire members.
Our first round started out so promising for the Soniqs, but ever since then it's been arduous here as they try to work for any type of control they can find, both in the kill and map control department. Just nothing really connecting here, especially back on round number 2. Down a player, that's not the end of the world, however, for the Soniqs, as they're still going to look to try and make things up as Dan lines up another fight for himself, but only able to connect a shot or two, it looks like, against Rexon there, who takes the duel from the other side. Dan will still hold a confident position inside of the bathrooms, however, despite that, going to rotate himself away closer to the site, as we're now a minute into it. And of course, his teammates will have called that there's a little bit of a breach going on over here towards the pool door that they might want to start paying attention to.
Empire will break that up, make it to where you cannot traverse through that rotation. So we'll be able to hold on to this as well as just the Towels door in general, making things a little bit more complicated for the Soniqs to look for their Sunrise plant that they've normally been going for on this double bar. Dan will continue to hold out the kitchen space here as eventually Soniqs have to rotate back and see exactly what's going on in this area. Rexon will establish the cutoff here for the kitchen window, but seemingly no one ready. They've already gotten their pick. They don't need to worry about this all too much. Drone out, and he'll just pre-fire and double back instead. Empire want to try and waste as much time as possible in this situation and get Soniqs down to a low time, force them into an execute that they don't necessarily want, especially given the man advantage.
Time continuing to bleed out here, and again, no follow-ups from the Soniqs. Not even a lot of drone work coming back in over here towards the pool there. They're hoping that someone from Empire makes a mistake, but never mind. They're going to be on point with their own usage here as they're able to isolate out Grixer, take him down. There is a nade thrown out, of course, against Shepard, but only knocks out about half of his overall HP, so he's still going to hold a confident position behind the bar inside of Sunrise to continue wasting the time of the Soniqs. And now down 2 players, still with no interior positioning to play off of, let alone top-down angles, as they still have the sledge in play, but now no longer any time to try and knock block out all those floorboards. They'll have to force their way in. Kansan actually being given a lot of real estate here as he creeps forward. No one on Empire obliging to peek against that. Kansan's going to be able to waltz right in. Shepard doesn't even realize it, so Kansan gets away with one for free. But again, just like the past 2 rounds, the trades are immediate. Super's left alone in what was a 1v4, made it a 1v3, but he's got less than 10 seconds left now, and the cutoff will finally be established from Always to shut him down. 3 in a row for the Russians.
Nicely done from Empire as they continually pull this man advantage back into their favor and complicate things for the Soniqs. That time around, Soniqs just simply not having any map control when it came down to it. They continue to lose men outside the building, and they can't take anything to really assist themselves in that manner. Right there, could have definitely have helped with the hookah control upstairs if they were able to gather it, but as you can see, the entirety of this roof is solid, so there's really nothing going on for the Soniqs in the current moment. Just simply trying to walk in from the towel space and claim some frags, but nobody home. Also had that engagement, obviously, with Dan holding on to Kitchen for a time and the cross established there for just a little bit by the Twitch, but really nothing going on over there either. No aggressive front, no droning, no really nothing to try and get a kill onto Dan, and now Soniqs feeling as though they need a word.
Yep, it's Jobro's time to shine as he's going to add his own input here. We're already about halfway, if not further, through the pause, so it's going to be pretty quick here, folks, as we work ourselves back into the game. You can see Jobro has already finished his little speech here, giving out the information that he has noticed over this first 3 rounds of play, the possible mistakes that have been coming in for the Soniqs, and any necessary adjustments that he believes might need to be made. And now Super will add in his own input here, and we'll see what exactly the Soniqs will try and bring to bear on the 4th round to try and course correct. Now they're going to start repeating the sites, of course, starting it out with hookah billiards.
We'll see what they can possibly muster. Hopefully it's something out of Yeti here. And yes, it's going to be the switch up from the Lion to the Yana. Not the biggest deal at the end of the day. Still would have liked to see the Lion, but Yana still a very strong operator at the end of the day. Just not feeling like Lion is really getting enough out of this for them. So hopefully the Yana will with her ARX. So for Empire, as John said, they're back up towards hookah. They'll begin setting up the site here, but it's looking pretty rudimentary at the end of the day. Very similar to what we were seeing prior. Bulletproofs around the space to get some extra insight as to when this plant is going to go down. Shoot out the default plant spot so they can play that down low, and also some Banshees around the area as well, just to slow down Soniqs on the entry. As for the Soniqs, you want to see them get a little bit more aggressive in this early round. You want to see them gather some map control, especially looking for these picks. If you guys remember on a hookah billiards, the last time Soniqs were able to get 2 big picks out of Yeti downstairs inside of Sunrise, but past that, they really weren't able to hold on to that control. Empire taking the fight to them in a lot of different ways, especially for the big double window inside of billiards.
That's mainly, again, because of the immediate adjustment we saw from Empire, just cooling their players off, letting Soniqs make that first step into the crosshairs of Empire instead of the other way around. And of course, now allowing for Empire to control the large majority of opening picks since that round itself. Always, of course, taking out Kansan in round 2, and then the last round, Dan knocking out Yeti. Soniqs have not been able to get the right foot forward here ever since that start, and hopefully the pause has given them what they need now to be able to course correct, like I was saying before. Already seeing some players going to start to work their way in from down below. Joystick's going to pre-pop the Sunrise window just in case he has a possibility of leaping out there for some action later on into the round. Remember, of course, we're back on the upstairs site. This is kind of free positioning for him to play into now. But at the same time, the Soniqs may still want to swing in and take it for themselves at some later point in this round here to try and prevent that action from the player down below here.
Well, now for the Soniqs, some time here as they've gathered control of hookah balcony to start us off. Drones in to see exactly what's going on inside of the vase space. Do have a member of the Soniqs going down low towards Sunrise as of right now as well, but it's like rush in here, but it's only Yeti's Gemini to be able to clear out the laser gate from Scyther. Joystick's still holding on to the space down low here. He'll open up some windows and just try to be a nuisance, try and get Soniqs to focus on him and waste some more time. So we're about halfway through this round. Empire simply sitting still in the moment. Don't have too much to do as it's the utility handling the Soniqs currently, and Impact out will handle the Selma and continually help Dan to play this space. Does he have another one? He does indeed, and that'll get rid of yet another Selma. Super more than likely going to toss down his last, and yes, he will indeed.
Finally, that's going to bleed out the count, but now we can start to see some more aggressive swings come in from Empires. They've read into this setup from the Sonics quite nicely. Kansan, the first to fall this time. And as we were just discussing, now all of the hard breach utility used, yeah, it's finally burnt out Dan's position. I do believe it is anyway. I didn't hear the follow-up explosion.
Actually, they ended up getting it. It got destroyed.
Did they really?
So, so both of these are actually still solid.
That's so unfortunate here, and this is what I was hoping to see, is Grixer or someone else taking up position to punish that impact play, but finally it shows up. Unfortunately, they don't have a good capability to now work their way forward, as someone else from Empire can just take up that player's position. But a 1-for-1 exchange is at least found. Grixer just challenges through the laser gate, eats all that damage, and always will oblige, ready to take the duel himself, taking out Grixer, and again, leaving the Sonics with a disadvantaged player count. However, Rexen is quickly going to try to make up for that, but he'll have to do it alone, as Joystick finds the exchange against Super, leaving Rexen on an island here in a 1v3. Multiple angles to contend against as he tries to go for this swing on the 90 corner as well, so it's so tough no matter which way he plays it. To be fair though, Empire going to give him a lot of room to swing out towards, but he has no time. Didn't leave himself enough to be able to run out, grab the case, and throw it onto the ground, so he decides to try and gun duel this one, and he will get one more, but that is it. Empire with 4 in a row as they continuously shut down all these attacks from the North Americans.
Well, Coastline has been one of our most offensive-sided maps here at SI, but Sonic simply cannot buy around if they wanted to. Empire, time and time again, shutting down their strategy in a bunch of different ways. All 3 Selma charges out of the Sonics being utilized on that base position, and they still can't get it. And past that, Empire able to find body after body to maintain that man advantage. It's nigh impossible for the Sonics in the moment, and obviously no more tack timeout to be able to influence this. They have to continue on as just the bench, as Joe Bro watches on in horror. Now for Empire, they're back down towards Kitchen as they continue this site rotation, just like they did the last time. If they win it here, they're more than likely going towards double bar.
Yeah, possible 5-0 lead on the cards here for Empire now, and not looking like there's going to be much to stop that. Of course, like Sam had mentioned, the pause did come in 2 rounds back, so we were hoping for some stylistic changes for the Sonics. It seemed like they just tried to focus more on the outright objective push, but due to the blunders that were made in trying to knock out that reinforcement next to Cool Vibes there, by allowing it to be impact trick twice, possibly 3 times in a row, bleeding out all those Selmas. Sonics just did not have the angles they needed to properly swing their way in, had to throw players into the fire, and it went pretty much as you would expect in that type of a situation, with Empire once again culling most of the roster before they could even get close to the site.
It's impossible in the current moment for the Sonics. The kill department just not really doing much, as it's been down to Rexen, but most of this has been on exits, as we saw inside of that last round there. He was able to secure 2, but finally Sonics get something here, a positive boon, as they'll take down Scyther on the top floor. This is their second opening blood here that they'll discover inside of round 5, but now Joystick already prepared to try and fight back here. Yet he's back on the line, as yes, you guys did indeed hear that EE1D locking things up for just a little bit. So we'll see if Sonics can possibly utilize this to help them out with these gunfights going forward, as Empire's still trying to work most of the map, but obviously down on the main level this time around.
Those Adrenal Surges obviously helping out Sonics to a pretty good degree here too, as well. Yes, a few of their players took damage due to those early fights being taken mainly against Scyther. They can immediately reboost that back up with these Adrenal Surges. Super's going to be a little bit too low, so they're probably going to leave him at low HP for a few reasons. One, he's not expected to be a huge impact fragger at any points. They probably, no offense, probably don't necessarily want to waste the Adrenal Surges on him in the event someone else gets lit up to half HP. But of course, we'll see how that plays out as we get later into the round.
You're so funny. Either way, Empire down 1 man here, as they'll be holding on to this bottom space. Shepard looking for a little bit extra here inside of the Sunrise area. Not able to find too much as of right now. Does have a man right outside inside of Mudroom. We begin breaking up this penthouse space, and the nitro cell out from Dan as Kansan walks over a landmine that he did not know was inside of that area. Already got a lot done inside of VIP as well, so if Sonics is able to reconvene and take control of that once again here, they'll more than likely be able to utilize that as they look towards a plant here in the last minute.
Second Adrenal Surge is going to come back up, putting Super in a better position here and boosting up the rest of the players. No sign of any serious push coming in for the Sonics to help follow behind that, however. Just, I think, a few players entering in upstairs here towards the theater and penthouse area. Maybe they're a little worried about a fight transpiring there, so that could explain why we see that secondary one go off. Always, of course, still ready for the challenge outside of security, and Shepard on the losing end so far of a battle for Sunrise. He's going to start to slowly back away from this one, as they do have to be careful about losing too many players here. Lots lots of pressure coming in from so many different places on the Soniqs end right now. So this may be a little hard to get a hold of for Empire, but Dan comes in, a great assist as he takes down Yeti, but immediate exchanges are found by both Grixer as well as Rexen, and Grixer carries it forward even more. This split play is perfect for the Soniqs as they overwhelm the entirety of the Empire roster by spreading out their own and shut down finally a defensive round here, giving them an attacking pickup.
It takes Kitchen in order to get it done, but finally it will happen. The Soniqs get their very first round off of the back of Grixer's triple kill. Took them a little while, but finally able to hit their stride, hopefully here as they're looking for their second round on the offensive side. Empire giving up quite a few bodies as they had to routinely challenge out of the site and try and hold on to control around the downstairs space, but Soniqs able to win out the fights time and time again. And they'll be happy with that one going forward as, well, they've proven that the Russian machine can bleed, so hopefully they can continue on this warpath.
Empire's still going to feel confident about the way this half has been playing out already with 4 rounds in the pocket, even if we see the complete rebound for the Soniqs here and they find a second. A 4-2 defensive scoreline is still very, very respectable given the attacker-sided nature that this map generally brings to the table. So Soniqs will have their work cut out for them regardless if that last round was the sign of the turnaround or not here. Empire, though, still going to try and lock things down, and if we can negotiate a 5-1, they'll feel even better about their current position, moving over to the attacking side on the upcoming round here. Setup's going to look pretty much identical too. No huge changes coming in for our defensive players. The same extensions and overall theme coming in for them here as they try to negotiate that 5th and final round on this half.
Well, now for Empire, they'll be awaiting Soniqs' arrival as they've finally been let out the gates. But as John said, really nothing too different in what their overall strategy is going to be. They'll still have the impacts inside of Sunrise to be able to assist with this hard breach utility from Super. We'll have to see if the Soniqs try and reapply themselves in a different way. And this has actually already started. Kansan is in upstairs, and this is what you love to see. This is what we didn't see inside of their last double bar take. You want to see them take this top control and start to apply pressure to these members. Empire will be able to, well, actually be discovered, as always, just sprints down White away from the EE1D's presence, but obviously it's going to ping him out due to that. He'll get down towards security and hold on to this for a time. Joystick's going to get lit up from that 417 of Yeti as he starts to chase him down, but doesn't challenge down vibes. He's just looking to hold out this stairwell and make sure that Kansan is safe in the current location that he is. That verticality starting to challenge back, as well as Joystick will toss a nitro cell to the sky, but it won't be able to find its mark.
It's an interesting change-up for their overall strategy. We saw how things flipped on the hookah attack, where they tried to play it from off positions and kind of swarm into the site from so many different places. That didn't work the first time around, so on the second run, they went for a direct play in from the balcony. Now this time, they're doing the opposite of that, where on the first attempt back on round number 3, they went for the direct play in from pool door, and now they're trying to play the extension up on top to flush out all the members of Empire that might have been playing in this site and eventually harass from this cool vibe stairs position to get downstairs, and only late in the round will they use that pool door or the sunrise window play.
Joystick going for the challenge now, and he'll find it. Yeti a little too close to the sun here when it comes to vibes. A grenade out now for Kansan as he tries to refrag in a literal sense. Won't be able to find too much, though. There's a disc there. Only get rid of the Banshee as Joystick continues to challenge. A minute remains here for the Soniqs, and a lot to do now as Empire's looking to go up 5-1 on this half, but obviously the Soniqs cannot allow that to happen. No impacts coming out from Shepard this time around, as Super will be able to secure the Towels wall here and make it a little bit easier for them to get in towards a plant. Joystick worried that someone is going to swing off of that hole that's now been made inside of the hookah wall, but fortunately nobody home, especially for the Soniqs, as they'll be able to use this verticality to take down Joystick. He rotates back into sight. They found their frag, but there's only 30 seconds remaining.
Soniqs oftentimes the comeback story, and they're looking to make it happen here with the second round in the end of the first half. Grixer and Rexen working together here to rip apart the roster of Empire as they're down to only 2, possibly 1 in a second, as Grixer gets himself another one, and one more on top of that, because why the heck not? The harassment from him is enough to negotiate control over Sunrise, and with that, we will see the Soniqs pick up a second round here.
Fantastic from the Soniqs. They desperately needed this after the 4-round run from Empire. Soniqs bounce back, and they're able to pick up 2 big rounds here. Kansan, especially with the amount of verticality that was able to influence the site over with inside of that round, definitely a big deal when it came down to it, as they were able to not only find a few frags, but also get some serious damage off onto these Empire members. A great fight from Empire, though, especially around the Vibe space, as they continually held on, but obviously it did not work out in the end. We'll be switching sides now in between these two, as Empire will move on over to offense, and arguably the better side here on Coastline, but we'll have to see. Maybe we've just got a defensive Coastline on our hands, but this round will definitely be the tail of the tape.
We talked about it a few times in some of our previous casts about how a lot of these maps have been flipping on the normal expectations because of the nade meta and some of the interesting additional change-ups that we've been seeing a lot of teams bring to the table at this event. That's been causing our maps to be a little topsy-turvy from what we normally expect them to be, and this one could certainly be no exception if the Soniqs look for a quick rebound here. They're going to start things out in Kitchen, though, and they'll be bringing a very similar setup to what we also saw from Empire on their own Kitchen setups. Aruni will be in play, of course, to try and blockade out some of these more direct access points and force the utility to be dumped in a bit. Of course, we'll have the Wamai assisting with that, as Super will pick that up, but the big key operator pick once again is going to be the Oryx on Grixer that will enable that free roaming capability away from the 2 usual staircases, and of course allow him a few additional options to possibly get behind this execute from Empire.
Well, Soniqs will be holding on to the most of the map here. Grixer will be on Oryx, opening up these hatches to make his transitions just a little bit easier. Also has that bailiff secondary, be able to break up some rotations and things along those lines. So I'll have proximity sensors for some extra insight onto where Empire will be clearing things from, and a possibility of a frag coming from those as well if the info is that influential. Empire now out and onto the map, and they're already beginning to clear out this top floor, but that's going to be Joystick's Gemini actually working its way in and making sure that there's no one inside of this theater spaces. That's quite important to the overarching story of this site. They'll clear out not only theater and penthouse, but also the main 90 hallway, so we should be seeing Empire take control of this for a time very soon. Grixer are the top frag right now for the Soniqs, along with Rexon right on his coattails at 7-3. They're looking to try and shut this down, hopefully early here for Grixer's sake, as he is over inside of Billiards. Drone ahead of Joystick here for White Stairs as well, as they will grab a hold of this end of the map.
It's going to be all quiet here on the front. Neither Soniqs nor Empire are going to be able to meet each other inside of the first half of the round. Empire, for the most part, just spending all this time droning things out, but always opening up quite a bit of the VIP room, possibly spotting out a member down below there. I believe a small amount of damage is actually done to Grixer in the process of using that skeleton key to open it back up, but Grixer now going to get himself into a powerful position to try and fire back against these players, and immediately we will see Always scurry away to rejoin with some of his teammates. Joystick will cause a trigger there on the motion sensor. I don't really know yet. Looks like they are going to be able to hear that from far enough away. Thought we might have been just a little bit too far, but not necessarily the case, so we'll have to be cautious of that. This Joystick has been revealed, and he's going to have second thoughts about making a push over towards Aqua as he falls back to maybe descend down the main stairs. Empire are quickly running out of time here with less than a minute left now.
Not much time for Empire, and the Soniqs have been able to hold off for a time. Always now with the cross here from DJ. He'll be holding on to VIP, but they haven't been able to secure a frag down low just yet. And as soon as I say that, Joystick will take down Kansan. Joystick now holding the cross here as well. Not able to secure the kill onto Grixer, but so much damage shot back and forth in between these two. Empire now looking for the site instead. Dan holding on to things in lobby, but Yeti will shut him down. Leans out into Shepard's frag as well here. Empire starting to look for some space to put this plant down. They'll be able to clear things out, at least on this end of the site, but not before Grixer's able to take down Scyther. Super needing to hit some shots here, won't be able to take down Shepard, as it'll be a triple for him on the round. He sets the plan up. Grixer possibly with a stop here if he's able to find it, and he will. They know he's inside of the lobby space, and that's going to be the round as he waits to the dying moments. It's impossible for Empire to pick up the case, and the Soniqs win out their first defense.
That's a big clutch from Rexon, and unfortunately the laser gates being the siren call to the end of the round, their Empire not having enough utility utility to brute force their way past that, so they use drones. They use anything they can to force their way into the site, and Shepard nearly gets it done, but with such little time. They also don't have enough to be able to establish Overwatch for that plant, so it's a simple waltz up from the last man alive on the Soniqs to shut down that plant attempt and negotiate their own third round here. One behind the Empire players, as they've made a run themselves with 3 consecutive rounds in a row, obviously totaling up the last 2 from the previous half as well. Soniqs are coming back, just like we've seen plenty of times this tournament. It was looking very one-sided for Empire at the start of this game, but now that Soniqs have warmed up, we've got ourselves a true competitive match.
It's a slugfest, it seems, my friend, as we start things off for the Soniqs' second defense here. We're headed towards Penthouse to see if they can hold on for a second time. The mirror will work its way in from Grixer as well, so some black mirrors to influence these spaces. One for Theater as well as one for the 90 hallway to look in towards VIP. This should work out for them pretty dang well. Jaeger and Omai to be able to protect some of those Goyo shields on top of that, and the Mute Jammers to hold on to some walls and make things a little bit more complex for this Empire squad. As for them, they've got a lot of answers inside of their lineup, let me tell you, especially with the 4 frag grenades coming in, and on top of that, plenty of soft destruction, especially coming out from Always here. They'll be able to influence these mirrors from down low, obviously all except for the 90 window mirror, because there is no soft destruction underneath that.
Yep, so just going to be standing up on top of the luggage there to add a little bit of extra safety while checking out these cams. We'll continue to maintain that position for a few seconds here as Empire start to establish their own initial positions. We can see one player on the front side, Repel, that might potentially contend against not only Yeti's spot by luggage, but a few of the players inside of the theater room also, should we start to see them try to swing out from the double reinforcement they've made. But the nades are going to start flooding in from below, and the good news for the Soniqs is that they are not going to be directly up against either one of those walls. They're playing a little bit further back, so the nades will not meet a strong connection here. No damage done, and that utility largely wasted by Empire. Thankfully, one more still available. I believe they'll have a few additional past that also. Yes, indeed. Joystick also carrying a 2-pack of those nades. So there is hope in the future here to knock out this upstairs exchange from the Soniqs.
Rexon will be holding onto the mirror for a time, but Kansan loses his life on a cross from Joystick here. Just not really aware that the player is on the double window for Penthouse in the current moment, and Joystick hitting his shots today for sure. Looking to see what he can possibly get rid of inside of the site. Doesn't want to swing in just yet because he doesn't really have the assistance needed in order to do so. Empire looking in towards Guitar and VIP as of right now to see if they can work that space. And does the nade get him? Bounces out towards Rexon's location, but obviously no damage coming in onto him. Looking to see if they can possibly smoke out this window. Rexon will hold the cross on the other side instead and see if he can possibly gather anything. It's a drone out as the Twitch. Does he actually get the mirror? I don't believe he does. That's smoke, obviously making things a little bit complicated for the Twitch drone there. So we're just about down to our last minute. Some serious marks coming into this as Super will go down inside of the site towards the for the yellow ping from Dan. Grixer trying to hold on now. Solo Dolo here inside of Theater.
Grixer gonna see if he can maybe negotiate. Oh, Super back up, but before he does that, a quick little headshot against Dan. Nicely found. They are gonna spot that Super got retrieved here, so they'll try to crunch on that, but Yeti is fending things off at luggage side. Beautiful hold here from the Soniqs, and Empire still fighting tooth and nail to try to push their way into it, as now Rexon tears 2 more players to shreds here. Joystick sneaking in the back end, though. He's gonna make this a winnable clutch, especially with 30 seconds left, and he'll just get it done. Nicely done from Joystick, as Empire finally responds, picking up their first round on the attack.
An insane clutch from Joystick as Soniqs seemingly having everything they could have possibly have wanted in order to win that round, but the ARX does so much damage to the Theater players and makes it a pretty easy clutch. Very straightforward for Joystick as he simply walks in and claims that last life. It's a 5-3 lead now for Empire as they get their very first round on attack.
So it's back over to a hookah play yet again to finish off the Soniqs rotation, as once more, unfortunately, they fall behind, restoring the balance to the same point that we were at during our halftime marker at 4-2. However, of course, pushing Empire 1 round closer to ultimately closing down this map. Things will start to get tense here for the Soniqs as they can't trade rounds out like that for the rest of this half. Need to find some consistency yet again. Have to hope that things go their way to tie us up outright at 5-5 and then allow them to take the lead away here.
Yes, indeed. And Soniqs now pulling out all of the stops. We've got Super on the alibi of all things. Should be a pretty interesting one here. Big fan of this operator at the end of the day and what she provides to the team. Pretty cheeky utility when it comes down to it. The Prisma's not only a fake clone of yourself as this op, but also an info tool. And especially with Empire and the way that they like to pre-fire things, as most offensive teams do, you can get some extra insight whenever they tag those Prismas up, as they ping you a couple of times whenever you do so. So we'll see if the Soniqs are able to use any of that insight back on towards the offensive squad here. As we'll have one of those inside of theater to be able to assist Rexon inside of this location. He being currently 10-4, matching up with Grixer at 10-5, at least inside of the kill department. The rest of the team, hopefully working their way in around these two members to be able to assist them and take it to Empire in these dying moments. Remember, no tag time out for the Soniqs at the current time. They cannot slow up this game any longer. They have to continue to fight through these rounds and hopefully make the adjustments there.
Rexon waiting for the swings to come in through Hall of Fame. He'll hold a pixel angle to try and catch the eager members from the Russian squad as they take their initial map control. But at the same time, a big swing out for the members of the Soniqs here. They'll be spread out quite thinly. So have to be cautious here if Empire is going to be able to isolate those positions and start to pick them apart, as trades will be few and far between during those circumstances for these early round holds. Rexon will lose one part of his additional hold here, as the Selma is going to work its way in and bleed out his wall, so he'll have to start thinking about a fallback sometime soon here, as Joystick also starts to open up options from down below by nading out that barbed wire next to Cool Vibes.
Empire taking control of lobby and clamber up white stairs. They know there's players around this space. Kansan gets dusted inside of 90. No secure just yet. A nade to do that as Rexon starting to take some heat. He's taking down Shepard. The nade from Dan will secure Kansan. Some shots in from behind. The Sledge as well as Joystick working this in a beautiful fashion here for Theater. They'll take down Rexon, and now it's on to the site players for the Soniqs. Grixer has a cross here as he plays things around the space here for Billiards. He's going to make himself a new rotate so he can get in towards Hookah and try and assist his teammates, especially the Vase player as of right now. Where is Super in all of this? That's the real question. Super currently over near Vase will be able to take out the Gemini, so it'll give up the goods in a certain sense on his location, but obviously do still have a couple of different cards that they can play. A couple aces in the hole, if you will, especially for Grixer with this Nitro cell that could come up big here in the dying moments.
Scyther hoping for an adjustment from the Soniqs, but not going to get it. Everyone's locked into the site as we enter the last 30 seconds of the round, but that's no problem for Empire, as Dan's already been able to find one additional pickup here. Yet, you know, here's the barbed wire being sliced, but never mind. Scyther still takes him down anyway. Super has found the only other response so far in this round here, as he now pushes in to try and deny the plant, takes the duel successfully against the player inside of Aqua, and then takes out the planter too. Dan's now racing to get himself up on top. Super hops off the counter defuse, but Dan still wins the battle anyway. It's a close one, but it falls into the pockets of Empire as they move up onto map point for our first map.
Super this LAN has been at least good for one inside of these rounds where we can see him clutch up. Even some of the maps, him popping off as well. So very close to securing that, as he actually had a triple inside of that round, but just could not get it done against the window player. That's such a hard fight, especially given his situation overall, but very well done at the end of the day. I mean, just look at these shots as he's able to take down the player inside of Aqua, but unfortunately enough for them, Empire up and on to match point as they look to close it out here on Coastline.
6 picks are out, and an interesting one for Empire here. Not totally unexpected, though, given the map we are playing into. We saw plenty of Lion play from Soniqs back in the last half. Dokkaebi is going to fulfill a very similar role, just more so in audio cues rather than visual ones, as we'll try to find out the positions of the Soniqs members. So we'll look for an execute here. It's going to go back down to the kitchen. Good news for those of you that are watching at home that are fans of the Soniqs. If you weren't watching the earlier rounds, they closed this down the first time they played into it. So a possibility for them to be able to find a fourth round here is alive and well, especially with the setup being almost identical. Those laser gates blockaded off Empire into those last 30 seconds of the round and tripped them up to a big degree. They didn't have an appropriate amount of utility to be able to burn that out. They may have fixed that, though, with the switch to bring Dokkaebi into the fold. So we'll hold ourselves back and see how exactly Empire is going to look to get themselves in.
It's going to be a sunrise hold here for the Soniqs. They've extended out from the kitchen space, so hopefully this slows up Empire in a certain sense. But as you said, the Dokkaebi utility working its way in. This is going to assist them with clearing out the map pretty quickly. Whenever she does send in a phone call, you can always just jump on those drones if you do have them placed around the space and see exactly where the members of the defense are. And obviously past that, it's just a nuisance for the defense to deal with anyways. If you want to shut down the vibration of your phone early, well, you have to go through a full animation in order to do so. Otherwise, it's just on a timer and it'll turn itself off. Unfortunately enough, apparently none of the defenders have Do Not Disturb on their phones, so really won't work out. Echo used to, but not anymore.
Helps she has the flashes too. That's more capability to kind of dump that into the Aruni gates as well as mitigate, once again, the Wamai discs that I believe have been brought in, and indeed they have. Super still sticking on that operator pick as we've gone back to a site he's played it on previously. Empire quickly clearing things out upstairs inside of Theater. Won't find any roaming members of the Soniqs roster here. It'll be easy clears for Joystick as he takes this for free, but as he looks to potentially descend back down, he'll have to be a bit more careful, and not just on the actual descent, but from behind him too. Grixer can line up a good angle through luggage against him and find that first kill. However, Joystick might be aware of this. He's going to go hunting. Oh no, he doesn't seem to assume that there's anyone in there. Motion sensor goes off, and that's the siren call for Grixer to swing out and shut down Joystick without a single bullet in response.
A scary moment there. Got to stay on your toes whenever you hear one of those. And Grixer swings out from Aqua in a situation where they had no info inside of this space. He's able to abuse that and find his frag. It's been the Rexen and Grixer show here for the Soniqs as they'll find an opening blood here for the third time, only the third time inside of this matchup so far. Empire has been running amok when it comes to these opening minutes. And now, speaking of which, those are gone. Empire now with some top control after Soniqs will drop off because of that opening kill, but will it be enough? With this much time, Empire will still be allowed to work a lot of this verticality, and they have Always and Dan in order to do so.
Still only a minute remaining here for Empire. Time is going to start to be stressed, especially with the loss of Joystick. Trying to flush out a member of the Soniqs. They do have yellow pings as well to find that player, but no! Kansas is going to be able to grab one despite the massive amount of heat being sent against him. There are 3 players trying to isolate him. He's able to at least guarantee the 1-for-1. Super, not so much the case though, as Dan has a much easier time finishing him off and evening out the player count. Grixer with the lineup though, nearly is able to trade out back onto Dan, but can't finish him off. He survives with a sliver of HP, but never mind. Grixer finds that final bullet, takes him down. This is the, once again, massive boost you're going to get by bringing Oryx in because he can re-rotate back up through that hatchet office and add the extra harassment. Now the remaining members of Empire try to swing themselves back in through service, but they're suffering for the same issue. The Malusi's Banshees blocking them off. The laser gate slowing them down as well. They can't find positioning, and Rexen will finish things off here as yet another round is picked up by the North American squad.
A fantastic round there from the Soniqs, but specifically Grixer, he gets the initial frag upstairs, drops down through the Aqua hatch, but then later reconvenes. He jumps back up through the hatch, the only op in the entire game that can do so.
On defense.
Is able to get some serious damage. So fantastic stuff from him as he continually deals damage to this Empire squad that they desperately need, as they will stave off the end of Coastline here just for the moment. Still 2 rounds to secure in order to push us to overtime.
Soniqs are going to exercise the full breadth of their defensive setup as they'll go to the 4th and final site they've yet to play into the double bars. So let's hold our breath and see if this is going to yield results for them to still push for the comeback, as they need 2 more rounds straight to be able to trigger overtime and potentially still steal away. As you can see it there at the middle top right side of your screen. Empire's own map pick. So they're currently favored here, 6-4 still. Only 1 round being needed on this attack to be able to claim it. Once again, a spider web of utility going to be deployed for the Soniqs. Will have the discs as well as the laser gates coming out. Grixer is now going to pick up the alibi, and Super will be playing possibly a very pivotal role inside of the site there if he plays it in the usual position we expect the Maestro and the Alda to go into by playing behind the Sunrise bar. We'll keep our eyes on him though and see if that's truly going to be the case when the round gets started.
Can the Soniqs continue on here? If anybody else throws their hat into the ring from this team, then we have definitely got a ball game on our hands, let me tell you. But for Empire, it's definitely been the team affair. Danon always trying to bring up the rear for Shepard and Joystick. Scyther has mostly been a utility player inside of this one, unfortunately enough, but has been able to secure some influential frags. But you could say the same for the Soniqs as well. into the opening minute now, as we're about 20 seconds in here for Empire to begin breaking up this map, and well, not too big of an adjustment inside of their utility overall. We won't see the Dokkaebi working itself back in. We'll still keep the double soft breach when it comes to Dan and Always, as they'll look to try and influence this bottom floor possibly if they do get some solid information on the location of these Soniqs members. Specifically Yeti, very far off of sight in the moment, but Kitchen always a solid place to hold on to when you are playing double bar, as a lot of people like to try and rotate in through service or possibly the kitchen window, but things can get risky as well here. Yeti now worried about this verticality inside of the area. I don't know if it was his nitro cell that went off there or what, but either way, he'll have some verticality going into this space, as Joystick will use that Gemini to its fullest and clear out a laser gate for luggage.
So it's a minute into the round already, and we haven't seen really a whole lot from either team just yet. Obviously, the Soniqs don't necessarily need to do a whole lot from their starting positions, as they're just looking to bleed out the time, and if Empire doesn't bring any aggression to bear to force that out of them, well, they can continue to just sit there and really AFK their way into a win. Empire, though, is, of course, going to start forcing some moves out of our defenders here as we start to see Joystick specifically work his way into the billiards room and nearly loses his head in the process. Some Tracers following it through. He does spot the rotation back down through Cool Vibes, but is going to be unable to chase it. Wants to keep himself obscured here by not firing out any bullets and keeping a possibility of a surprise pick alive, but alas, no one will be seen as he reaches the bottom of the stairs.
Joystick in a pretty pivotal position at the moment, but Kansan, he can win this out. Disc out, but it's super to go down. Can he get the refrag? Kansan so much damage as Joystick hits the flick. He almost removes Kansan from this world as well. Rexen now trying to look for the refrag possibility, but oh, Yeti, please push the stairwell. It's so very close. Can he find it? Oh, he's right on the precipice to finding this kill, but he backs off. M590 in hand now, as he was so very close to taking this man down, but luckily enough, the Wamai disc also catching the frag grenade that was intended for him. And well, Soniqs also delaying so much time inside of this one. It's done in the last 30 seconds here as he begin to break up the floor even more, and Rexen also finding the kill onto Shepard. Kansan's still very low, so they could get that frag in a pretty timely manner, but on such low time with Grixer upstairs, this is starting to look more like a Soniqs round.
Nice pickup from Grixer, and even more going to be found as there's no longer any vertical support harassing against this plant. Dan finally picks up the exchange, but now only two stand alive here. Rexen and Kansan need to push right back in. Dan trades it again, but he's lost his planter. He needs to stick it, and there's no time left. Round number 5 is found off the back of Kansan's final kill there, and the Soniqs are only one away from triggering overtime after running a massive comeback.
North America, you better kiss Grixer. That's all I'm saying. This man is doing everything right now up against Empire. They simply cannot stop him from getting in behind, not only picking up some big frags, but also stopping the plant, basically stunting Empire's round here as the Soniqs are making a defensive stand.
Excellent stuff coming in from the Soniqs once again, inching closer and closer towards this overtime.
Well, now for the Soniqs here. We'll see exactly what they can get done. Grixer and Rexen, once again, this duo, truly insane in the moment, John. Let me tell you, 27 kills in between these two. That's some quick maths for you guys at home. Empire looking to close this out in regulation now, as they're just not able to hold on to the map control like they want to because of these rotations happening. They're able to get it early and have some influential information coming through, but past the opening bloods at the current moment, there's really nothing that they can possibly do. As long as Grixer and Rexen are both alive, there's so much that the Soniqs still have at their disposal that they can toss at this Empire offense, and it'll continue to thwart them.
So Empire's still in the lead, but just barely now. This lead is a shell of its former self, with the Soniqs truly rebounding and giving us a show on this defensive half. Mira is going to be seen in their defensive lineup this time also, which will certainly boost their capabilities off-site in addition to in-site. I believe we are going to see both of those mirrors utilized interior to the site, but let's get a better vision on that, and then we'll talk more about it once we can see. As actually, no, they're going to hold this a little bit more aggressively as they'll leave the VIP wall soft and allow that to be played into. This is the expected one that we are going to see, though, played out directly next to the interior hookah doorway. that will allow them to swing out into that one and punish any early pushes we might get from Empire through that main access point.
Not exactly a mirror setup that you expect to see too often, but one that Soniqs will be bringing can definitely help them with some insight in towards the actual hookah space. Rexen will break up the wall here and see what's going on inside of Penthouse. So hold on to this for a time. Grenade out to get rid of the castle barricade so they can establish a cross here for VIP hallway. Frag out underneath the positioning here at the back end of theater as well. And Rexen, very fortunate that he is not at the back end of that space, as he'll be up and on towards the actual theater door towards Penthouse, playing on top of this mute jammer, more than likely aware that they could possibly be bringing Doke again. So if he plays close to those, then obviously the phone call won't come in onto his location. Kansan now with the impacts will continually hold on to these mirrors, but actually no, it won't get the Selma charge. And now that mirror, now impossible to play.
Kansan losing access to his mirror window, still has a slight window to try and peek into, and he'll be able to negate the first frag grenade that comes in. And oh, bold from Kansan. He's got like about half the wall still up and running here, so he's going to try to sit behind that one. Problem is, if he moves an inch in the wrong direction, his side or his leg or something will poke out, and that could potentially mean the end of him here if he's not being too cautious. Rexen now denies a second Gemini drone as it tries to work its way forward there, and yeah, Kansan finally going to get burnt out from that forward position here, not from a nade either. Those bullets I was talking about bleeding him down to about 30% of his HP as he has to fall back and away from that one. Rexen, though, finally striking true to the interior of the theater by taking down Joystick and picking up the first kill of this round. He'll look to see if he can get more than that, as they are truly slowing down the play from Empire, which shows no signs of changing up anytime soon here as we move into the last minute of play.
Empire not able to be forceful enough onto these players, but finally Rexen to go down. Kansan still in this location. The stun won't blind him out. He's looking for the kill here inside of the VIP space, but this theater player about to pick him up. He will achieve it, and no, Scyther shuts down too. It's a triple kill for him on the round as he looks out towards white. Grixer now trying to make some hauls to try and get something done here, establish some new lines of sight so they can try and slow down Empire, and it's a 2 versus 4 here as they try and stave off this round.
Bit of a slow build-up here for Empire, however, so still the chance for the clutch to come in. That's a bold peek from Super, but he keeps himself alive here, keeps the members of Empire inside of a cage, and now Grixer is going to be able to swing forward and take down Shepard. The numbers are palatable. A second one, now a third for Grixer as he's getting it done. Overtime is triggered as Super finds the last kill as well, and Grixer, deservedly so, pops off with a high five from his coach.
I love the energy from Joe Bro there. He didn't want to touch him just yet. He's like, all right,
I'm gonna let you vibe. I'm gonna let you vibe. All right, I'm coming in.
Immediate execution on that as well. He's just like, all right, and boom, high five. Fantastic stuff there from the Soniqs as they force us into OT. The duo from Super and Grixer able to shut it down as they wasted so much time of Empire's clock and just not able to get very much done when it came down to the actual execution. Everyone trying to push in through the VIP space, but just look at Grixer get into some work here with this Vector. And finally, the last kill coming out from Super. I believe a tactical timeout coming out here from Empire as they were not able to shut out their map, and the Soniqs just very scrappy inside of this one.
So input going to be made now from the Empire coach as they figure out how exactly to play this. Empire coming so close to closing down that final round as well. A flurry of kills as they put it into a near 2v4, I believe it was. Maybe a 2v5 as well, as they once again seem to have every single advantage possible except in the positioning department there at the end of the round. Only really having the VIP hallway to execute through, that becomes a massive choke point, which Grixer and Super are able to use there. Super acting as the bait first, then Grixer swings out to pick up the kill, and of course Super coming in to find the last one as well. Once Grixer had used the large majority of his magazine, it plays out flawlessly, and the haphazard pace with which we see the members of Empire try to jump out into it one by one by one, they hand over the duels, never really able to establish a secondary angle through billiards or another avenue such as Cool Vibes, and because of that, they fall one by one, and the Soniqs bring yet another round back into their fold as we tie it up. Sonic complete the comeback and send us into overtime, where they will keep the defensive advantage as well. That's another big factor here. They're going to have 2 opportunities on this side, which obviously we've seen the large majority of our rounds won on so far for both teams. Empire will only have 1 on the next round.
Rexen and Grixer currently have the same amount of kills as 3 of the Empire members combined. That is truly insane. Shepard, Joystick, and Dan only able to equate to those two members of the Soniqs, as the Soniqs will be able to pick things up here on the defensive half, as they'll have 2 defensive rounds inside of overtime. Obviously, that means Empire will have 2 offensive rounds if we go the full breadth of OT. As soon as I say that, Empire out and about now on the map for the very first time here inside of overtime. More than likely wishing that they had the defensive side here, and more than likely wishing that they closed this out before we got to this point.
Empire now in charge, or rather have lost charge, I should say, of the situation. It's Soniqs instead that now take charge of this entire map here, pushing themselves up at 6-6 and going to look to try and negotiate one more kitchen hold for themselves. Already a large utility dump coming in for Empire through the kitchen window, and drones to follow it up also as they try to figure out what exactly this type of setup is going to yield. There's been a new little wrinkle here for the Soniqs defense also. I don't believe we saw this on a previous attempt, as Yeti has now brought the Echo in, potentially to delay, and especially in the late round scenario, should they get pushed out of kitchen, which is a fairly common occurrence, he can maybe hide one of those yokais and surprise if there's a null time plant to straight up end the round with that utility usage, as we've often seen in past Siege, but I'll be honest, it's been a pretty long time since I've seen a yokai clutch.
Yeah, it has been, hasn't it? Usually people very aware that the yokai is in area, so we'll be able to find out Echo pretty early on, and especially since the yokais are no longer invisible, they're a little bit easier to deal with. Definitely still a nuisance, as we saw Oxygen especially utilizing this op very well, especially for the roaming capabilities of those yokai drones to find out some intel for the defense here, but we'll have to see how the Soniqs want to use this time around. Yeti's going to be on the yokais in the current moment, so do have the possibility of actually having some of that intel assisting them currently. Kansan with a heck of a shot here, and one that desperately needed for the score line, and for the Soniqs already shutting down Empire early on here, if you can even say that, almost down to the last minute. Joystick and Dan already dusted here, and now it's down to the remaining 3 of Empire to try and find this offensive round.
Kansan's had kind of a quiet game here with 6-10, but personally, I've noticed quite a few situations where he's been able to win some pivotal gunfights and at minimum waste time inside of the same positions where he's trying to win those there. So while it's been mixed results inside of his potential individual score, the actual contributions I think speak a little bit more strongly for him inside of this matchup here. So I'll be curious to see what our analysts have to think about that when we head back to the command center. As always, just can't get deep enough into that pocket there. Just was talking about how Kansan makes some great contributions, and just like that, he finds himself another nice pickup as Empire fall to only 2 players remaining.
A negative scoreline doesn't mean that much inside a competitive Siege, especially when your teammates are shooting like this. And for Kansan, a big round for him that could be the biggest one for him here on Coast. Already able to get 2 kills, as he'll be able to try and hold on to this space. He'll be naded out here as Scyther tries to take control. He'll get Echo droned as he tries to push forward. This sonar blast will mess with his vision just a little bit, but Shepard will get taken down. Grixer to tag on, and well, if you could hear things
getting loud
in this space right now, let me tell you, the Soniqs with the belting screams from across the entirety of this building, let me tell you, it's quite large. They're about 100 yards away from us at the current moment, and we can still hear them. The Soniqs take the lead here for the very first time on Coastline.
Starting down from a 2-4 deficit at the beginning of the second half, Soniqs have now brought it back, and not only that, hold the lead at 7-6 over Empire. On top of that, they'll return to Hookah, which was a successful site attack for them back in the previous half, where we saw Empire on their own defensive side here. So Empire is going to have to hope that they can course correct in their own regard here, as if not, that'll be a massive win for the Soniqs, taking not only the first map of this series, but of course, Empire's own map pick, as we get ready to head over to Clubhouse for map number 2.
This has been such a scrappy game in between these two, especially for the Soniqs' sake. The opening kills have mostly been going towards the Empire side, and time again, the Soniqs are able to fend them off, fight back, especially from the defensive side of things, and force us up and on to this point, even doing it again inside of that last round. This has been fantastic here from them. Obviously, some of the opening bloods having some heavy influence here, as they've been able to pick those up at a decent rate, but obviously not up against what Empire was able to control inside of a lot of those openings for the rounds. But either way, an opening kill doesn't win you continue the game as, well, look at this scoreline. The Soniqs, 7-6 in the current moment as they're looking to take control here and take the map at an 8-6 fashion on their side. And, well, we're going to have a big change up here. One that we saw Oxygen use extremely well inside of their series on Coastline. The Osa working back in. We'll see if those Osa shields can possibly assist them with an Aqua plan as Kansan will set things up on the far side here for Office. Begins breaking up the wall, and oh, he's able to find Scyther, who rotates in towards the sunroom, towards security, and that's going to be the opening blood yet again for Kansan back-to-back.
They're hot pinged in the process of walking through Office as well, so really bold for him to still go for the straight up dash across to try and work his way into the lower luggage hallway there. Loses his life as a result of that mistake, and once again sets up the Soniqs for an easy closeout here if they're able to leverage enough site control to get into their execute. Now at a 5v4, they can basically trade their way to a win here if they establish proper positioning. Joystick, though, still downstairs, going to try and shake things up a bit. Like, again, we saw on the previous rounds here, a potential hop out is alive and well for him. He's not the only one downstairs either. Dan is providing overwatch for a blue bar / office swing. Should they try to move in and take out Joystick from that position? So lots being committed here, but again, the Soniqs have had plenty of time to drone this out and have probably realized that the actual site setup is going to look quite weak, and if not, they're certainly going to be realizing it right now as their drones are very much in play. They'll also realize, however, that the cutoff is still established quite nicely by Empire over at the top of main stairs, and that's going to cause some serious issues here as they try to establish their own positioning closer to the site.
Aqua Balcony, usually a dangerous place to try and drone, but obviously Rexen, he's a completely different character as he'll be able to set that shield down in front of him and safely drone out the Aqua area. Joystick now rotating in towards security. Kansan with the possibility to have yet another frag coming his way, but it'll definitely be a challenge as Joystick starts to propel himself forward down low. Rexen's starting to set things up upstairs as he's already got a shield set up for luggage. Has one in his pocket still as well, and a bulletproof here to be able to read out the situation inside of this space. He cannot cross and get that in the current moment either, as he'll more than likely be killed in the process due to the footholes at the bottom of the billiards wall. Joystick resurge back upstairs, doesn't want to try and go for that rotation down low like we saw before that could have possibly have led him into Kansan. Instead, back up and onto site here to try and help defend in the last 40 seconds.
Empire continue to bait out this time, which they've been doing quite well. To give them huge credit, a huge mistake made by Scyther at the beginning of the round, but ever since then, they've kept everyone alive, and more importantly, have kept the Soniqs way outside of the play box here, as now the Soniqs are going to try to flood their way in, and Dan obliges to that, tries to swing in against 4 different members of this attacking roster. The plant attempting to go down always, cannot find a clean cutoff. He's going to get it now, but only one to be picked up there. Grixer takes down a player in sight, swings in to kill the other one in the hallway, and then knocks out the last player in the site as well. Beautifully done by him as he's the hero for this team, bringing them back from the brink, pushing them into overtime, and now stealing the first map right out of Empire's hands. The final score of 8-6.
Such an insane series from the top frags from the Soniqs, but overall an amazing game from them as they win a defensive-sided Coastline. And not only that, Grixer and Rexen. Grixer with 21 kills, Rexen with 17. How do you do that? Truly insane stuff coming out of both of these members. I'm so very excited to see Clubhouse.
That's a dangerous combination of frags right there if it's going to be able to continue, and certainly would expect it so as we move over to Clubhouse. Certainly a lot less off-site surprises, off-angle surprises going to be seen, as from a formulaic perspective, our second map is going to play very, very differently. So there may be hope yet for the roster from Russia, as that's a map that they have no problem playing into from time to time as well, as we've seen plenty of times in the past. For us, folks, we're going to go to a short break real quick, so stick it right here, and we'll be right back in a few minutes with map number 2 between the Soniqs and Empire and the upper bracket of Six Invitational 2022. The Soniqs' hunt for a hammer continues as they crawl their way back from the brink on map number 1 and are able to negotiate control of Coastline to steal it right out of the hands of Empire after an incredibly close affair and a huge blunder for Empire's sake. Now, however, we move over to Soniqs' own map pick in Clubhouse for map number 2 as the Soniqs will look to shut this one down outright 2-0 and surprise yet another team, yet another region as they look to knock down the best possible hope at this tournament for Europe.
And if Clubhouse is going to be anything like Coastline, you guys are going to want to go get your popcorn now because you're going to want to lock in. It looked like Empire was going to be able to take Coastline pretty handedly on their defensive half as they went up immediately 3 rounds and, well, got their 4th after attack timeout from the Soniqs. It was looking bleak, but then the Soniqs able to clamber back on that side, able to get those last 2 rounds and just edge it out. We switch sides and, well, the Soniqs force OT and force a lot of hands on Empire's side. They're not able to do much as Grixer and Rexton combined for 38 kills on Coast.
Yeah, man, look at those kill spreads right there. 21-7, 17-18. A little bit of a drop-off from there. We talked about it in the middle of the map. There were still some great contributions coming out from Super Yeti and Kansan at any point during the series. Meanwhile, a much closer affair for Empire as both Joystick and Shepard, along with Dan, and even Always sit relatively close to each other, but just not enough prowess to be able to top out that matchup as they fall time after time again, especially inside of the late round on their attacks, as they were unable to negotiate insight positioning here. It's not going to be the end of the world, of course. Just a reminder for you folks at home, this is an upper bracket game, so not going to be the end of the world if Empire drops this one outright, but that does mean they will be up against the wall facing possible elimination, as they'll need to try and crawl their way back to make it to the grand final. For the Soniqs, though, it will put them in a much more palatable position here, as they'll look to work their way through. And on Clubhouse, a map that both teams should know inside and out at this point, it's all going to come down to the basics of Siege. Who has that best mechanical execution as well as the best gun skill? Probably an easy answer to that one. To decide who will take map number 2. Let's not waste any more time, folks, as we're getting into it. Clubhouse is live, and it's time to find ourselves a possible winner of this series, or maybe a third map if Empire can swing into it.
This upper bracket has truly been insane so far, and well, that also means that we need to have Clubhouse in a certain sense. It's one of the most iconic maps when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege, and well, for Empire as well. Soniqs will ban out Thatcher here, as we don't want easy street when it comes to getting these walls open. Empire will have our other offensive ban, obviously. And what do they want to remove from the puzzle? We'll see here. It's going to be, oh my God, Maverick. They are doubling down, and well, this is one of those things that makes offense a little bit more complex when it comes to Clubhouse. So you're not going to have as many opportunities to open things up, and that's exactly why we're going to see Empire get rid of Kaid, because if he was in play, this map for the offensive side would basically be impossible.
Yeah, that's going to make things a little bit tricky indeed here, even with the corresponding bans coming back out with Thatcher and Cade knocking each other away there. Valkyrie will be our final one, and that's going to fall in line with the usual trend. She still sits at the top of the ban pool for both our defensive and attacking sides, so no surprises there that she gets knocked out for yet another time as we get further and further into this tournament. Map number 1 is live, and it's the Soniqs that get the defensive start. Usually the expected side to edge out a majority of the rounds in this map, but as we saw back on Coastline, that isn't necessarily always the case. So we'll talk more about that as we get deeper into this series and see how strong each of these sides are going to be for both of our teams.
Well, I'm excited to see how this is going to start off, especially with the Soniqs starting things off on defense. Dan is going to 6-pick away from the Buck that could have some heavy influence towards this basement site and pick up the Flores instead. Grixer is also going to pick up Mira as well. Going from the Frost to that, obviously, is going to throw a wrench into the plans of Empire, as they would more than likely assume, just initially, that they're going up towards Gym Bedroom with that pick. That's what we see Frost used very, very often, but obviously the game plan will change for them as soon as they start droning out this map. So we'll see what they want to do with that now, but obviously they won't be able to get the cross angles through the kitchen hallway because they don't have Buck any longer. They'll have Always still, so they'll still be able to work the verticality inside of kitchen, but it should make for some interesting siege. Either way, though, folks, if you're on the Hopium train for the Soniqs or if you're on the Copium train for Empire, we want to hear what you guys have to say. Be loud inside of that chat right now. Yell it on social media. Do whatever you got to do, because Clubhouse starts right now.
An interesting pick has come out from the Soniqs here. Quite obviously, Cade not available, so we are going to see the Bandit being used mainly to block off access from the church wall. Because Mira was also left in the pool, we're not going to see all 3 panels get reinforced. They'll leave the far one soft so that maybe they can play out from behind the mirror window and possibly open up some aggressive opportunities. Yeti will be smart in noticing that panel going down. Does not want to potentially have his head cut off halfway across it there, so crouches through it just to make sure he keeps himself safe, and will very quickly probably be in a fallback position here as Empire starts to swing their own way in through the kitchen hallway at some point in the next 30 seconds or so.
The spearhead player for the Soniqs, self-proclaimed at least, and well, we've seen him take a lot of space over the year for the Soniqs as well, as his team has been able to work around him, trying to accomplish that. He's going to start off in a very similar foot here at the bottom of main, as Empire will begin to clear out this east side. Dan will be inside of stock for the time and look to see if there's anybody around the area, but obviously, as we know, there's nobody home. They've all went down low to try and hold on for the time time being, Yeti included, as he's currently inside of dirt. Soniqs' defensive strategy will be the turtle setup as they sit downstairs and try and play around these mirror windows. As for Empire, they need to begin breaking up this floor, and that's exactly what they'll do, as Always begins his work with the sledgehammer.
Of course, once again, no Maverick in play as he has been banned out, so only going to be able to use the Hibana to be able to open up those hatches. Actually a bit of an easier task for Scyther since he's been forced down to the Hibana here. Just going to be able to pop those right open, and since there's no Cade, won't be any way to really counteract the opening. Over here towards the kitchen hatch, they might be able to slow it down a little bit. I do want to check out our defender utility, and yeah, we do have 2 impacts present on Rexen. So if he's in position to potentially stop that, he's not right now, so more than likely going to see that kitchen hatch gets popped right open unless he can rotate over there early enough here. He's trying to prevent those Rotaro drones from working their way, and he's actually done a pretty fantastic job of that. Always, however, has struck true with this frag grenade, finding the first kill of the map, taking down Kansan.
Pretty unfortunate for the Soniqs at the moment, but with load time, Empire has yet a lot to do. No Twitch drones or anything to be able to get rid of these mirrors as well, so should be able to hold on to these for a time as they prepare themselves for this last 45 seconds of play. Could be a pretty fiery one, though, as Empire is able to get quite a bit of intel with these last 4 drones. Dan will get rid of this bandit battery, and
both of them.
Obviously not the mirror window, as that explosion can't deal with that in that sense. Grixer able to at least deal some damage. They'll punch out the mirror window and make it to where the info game isn't as strong as it once was. Dan, is he going to go for this pickup? He is indeed. This is such a risky spot to do this, but they'll be able to get it done. Lots of info coming back onto them. Always will cancel the plan, or rather Dan, but it'll be Always to take the gunfight instead. Yeti to take down 1, Yeti to be traded out, and it's all down to Rexen instead of the 1 versus 2. He'll impact back and try to see if he can possibly work his way around these boxes. They don't know where he is. Almost able to hit the flick. He gets the damage off. It's all down to Dan. Both of them on very low HP, and already on Clubhouse, it's going to be a fight. Low on time now here. Obviously, it's going to continue to tick away here. Rexen playing around the box. Has the impact to toss out. Won't be able to tag Dan with it as he plays around the bomb chassis. Moving back and forth, not able to find the inside. And Dan with the pistol of all things takes him down as the Russians will get the first round.
Rexen too scared to make the move out there, and no intel playing into it. You could see it from our other player's perspective as he got the replay. The members of Empire did also have an active yellow ping onto Rexen as well. So it's a simple closeout for the last men alive on the Russian squad as they take the first round against the basement attack. Soniqs will not favor a retry there and instead immediately move on towards their CCTV and cache hold. They need to stretch their legs on all 3 of these sites to feel which one is going to be the strongest for them before they potentially try to lock in and go for retries. So we're going to see quite a few operator change-ups as well, since we'll be heading to a new site that plays quite a bit differently. Most notably, the Thunderbird going to come in for Grixer to allow their players that will be extended out in the early round to boost up when they return home, and a few other smaller changes aside from that as well. Most notably, Rexen bringing in the Aruni to add those laser gates into a few of these windows.
Past that, who's going to have the crappy job of playing inside of rafters? Well, looking through the list, the one that stands out the most has got to be Kansan. MP5K in hand, more than likely the 1.5 on that as well. But we could see it out of Rexen as well if they just want to add some things inside of that space. But more than likely not. No ADS is coming in from the Soniqs, so it'll more than likely be Kansan's job to hold on to that for as long as he can possibly muster it. So for the Soniqs, they'll begin setting up this site around the space. Super will drop down low and shotgun out some of the stage wall in towards stock here. So more than likely be able to slow down Empire inside of that area. They want to make sure that they can't get underneath cache initially and start just banking these grenades off the floor and trying to deal damage to some of these cache players like we've seen time and time again here at SI. Past that, though, these laser gates are likely going to slow up Empire squad just a little bit here for not only their entry points, but also for their utility usage.
Once again, as you guys might come to expect, especially with the CCTV and cache hold, going to be a very slowly built up early round here. As Joystick just starts to enter in through the front doorway, but immediately someone is here to counteract that. Rexen, the timing, though, he looks away but recovers as Joystick doesn't expect to find someone outside of stock here, giving the first kill of the round over to the Soniqs, this time trading out from the last round.
Very nicely done here from Rexen, and already starting off so very strong. 3-1 at the current moment as they'll take down Joystick, who really was dealing serious damage to the Soniqs members inside of that last map as he time and time again was able to find that opening blood. Shepard now with the drone out. He'll be assisting rest of the team and trying to find some intel around this construction area. Obviously, Soniqs on an extended hold out towards the master space, yet he continuing to hold on to the top of the stairwell, and Grixer currently inside of Wades. This is a fantastic time-wasting strategy that the Empire members will have to get a hold of soon. Always now, I believe on a solo dolo mission here, so Sledge opened the bathroom, has some holes to worry about, a nitro cell goes off, but obviously not able to find too much just yet. Sees him through the wall, but who wins it? Oh, it's going to be Scyther instead, who comes through Stash and able to find his frag. Oh no, not like this. Yeti Mag out of the SMG-11 gets taken down by Shepard as Empire finds their mark, but Super is also here to assist.
Response from him equalizes things at a 3v3 due to the fact that Soniqs, of course, found the opening pickup earlier in the round, closer to the front lobby area. The player that found that kill still alive as well, but unfortunately quite heavily injured as Rexon sitting at only about 20 to 30% of his overall HP. I'm curious where those Kona stations may have gone down as he never really found a capability to use those as he fell back here, so that utility not necessarily in a great position, or at least not a usable one, as it was either taken out too early on in the round from the Rotero drones or just not in a great position for him to be able to find them. As we can see now, they are not to be seen whatsoever, but thankfully mute jammers are still in play, so a few of those can get disrupted. Super, most notably, sniping one out just there. The construction wall now open for the push, however, and Super's gonna have to start draining out his toxic babes. Just seeing the first one used, however, at a little over 30 seconds leaves him with a lot more time to play out here, and possibly an outright delay entirely of the Empire push, meaning they would have to force their way past it. Here we go, one more in. That's only gonna leave about a 10-second window for them to try and go for the plant, but now Super falls down. Kansan responds, and from his position up inside of Garage, the impact out, but they can't find the planter. Shepard's gonna get it off for free. Kansan has no idea where this is going down, and that could lead to his death. No, he catches the planter as he steps out from his safe position, and now everything falls to Always. He's not moving an inch, though, over by that construction doorway. He wants to wait for the rotation to come back up here. Kansan needs to bait the play out. Always has missed the rotation up through red as well. Rexon will peek out against it. He knows he's here, but man, he is so solid. Rexon, though, with the one tap, taking Always out there on the quick pop out from top red. He takes him down, and the Soniqs retake to trade out the rounds and tie us up at 1-1.
I simply cannot believe my eyes that he got that info on the Sledge player prone inside of construction. What an insane round from Rexon there. As the jiggle peaks work out, more than likely just seeing like the ankle or something, just a slight shimmer of the Sledge on the floor, and able to find him. Truly insane stuff coming out from the Soniqs as they're able to equalize.
Some nice replays of it here. And once again, see it from Always' POV. Rexon just sniping that shot out against him after he's able to leverage the intel. Certainly a tense scenario as the Insight player did not want to swing that angle either, but it works out for the Soniqs as they just barely are able to negotiate themselves back into that site and now tie us up, sending us to the third and final point of Soniqs' defense, unless they really want to surprise us with a bar hole here. But for North American teams, that hold is going to be few and far between, often saved once again for just a random chuck out or two when they want to try it.
Yeah, we didn't really play it that often this last year, even past the rework that came in a little later on. So as for the Soniqs, more than likely be sticking to their guns on their usual site rotation, and it happens to just be this gym bedroom coming out from the Soniqs now. But obviously, we could see them pull out all of the stops and perform a bar stage hold a little later on. But as of right now, definitely going to be the gym bedroom case. And well, we're not going to see the Frost worked in like we saw with the Fake earlier on inside of round one that was 6 picked away from. Instead, they'll be bringing Alibi as the unique operator to this strategy. And as we talked about on the previous map, this operator pretty unique in the way that it works. If you end up tagging one of those Prismas, then some insight will come for the defense as you're pinged routinely on the offensive side. Soniqs now repositioning a shield here for the top of red just to make things a little bit easier for the top cash player as some ADSs start to pour in, more than likely some nades and other things to follow. Grixer having a nice angle on this space. I believe he'll be able to see the top head of anyone running up through the garage area as Empire will begin their working of the map. It'll be the CCTV wall first here for Shepard.
So already first step opened up here. They're going to try and flush out the extension over into cash. But Rexon, of course, going to look to shut down the Empire players themselves. He gets a yellow ping to suggest they've already taken garage control, but look at Grixer sneaking forward, maybe making an aggressive play, but he doesn't have the full confidence to go for it. There's a risk, of course, if he continues to swing back out there, that there's someone already on the balcony rappel to be able to take him down. And he's right to assume that as he does see the nice little red silhouettes of the X-Kairos pellets coming out there, so he backs away from it so as to avoid an early death. But they're still maintaining positioning, just probably not for a heck of a lot longer here. Rexen trying to force back the Gemini clone. He does that, but he doesn't expect such an immediate follow-up as Dan instead gets the first kill this time against Rexen.
That's so unfortunate, too. There was so much utility inside of that space. If Rexen was able to win out that fight, then more than likely he's stuck there for such a long time and able to really dwindle down Empire's timer. Either way, though, Empire able to find the first strike here as they're starting to look towards sight, but already quite a bit of this timer leaking out from them as there's only a minute and 10 seconds remaining for them to get towards the actual site. Shepard will shift sides here and use that second exothermic charge on Jacuzzi Balcony, as we're all accustomed to. Kansan will hold on to main stairs here as the rest of Empire will try and get around this site. Dan will be in such a pivotal position here out on the master balcony as they start to look in and see if they can possibly find themselves another frag. Grixer taking a lot of heat from the LMG out of Dan, and it's going to be Grixer to step up to the plate yet again here as he gets taken down.
Way too many members of the Sonics eager to take fights here are being forced out of their position, so it's left Empire with a very winnable 5v3. However, they still have to work their way into the site. Only a clean access point so far to push in through construction, and no easy trade being spotted yet against Super as he picks up the only other player working in through Jacuzzi Balcony. Rest of the team, though, quickly swinging and taking Logi control, but Kansan holds the line there for at least one more pickup. Buys time for Yeti to creep up. He's going to hold back by the big doorway. Now with the M590, that's a clean shot to knock out Always. He'll back away a reload on the SMG-11. That does open up the site play, but it also opens the floodgates for Super to pick up his first exchange. Joystick is now alone. 3 seconds to get the plant onto the ground as he finishes off Kansan, and yes, he's going to be able to start it, but Yeti can now run up. Joystick needs to complete this in one fell swoop, and he's in an exposed position. Will Yeti find him? Walks right past him, and oh, Joystick nearly turning it around, but Yeti wins it instead, and the Sonics get a second round.
You ever had a heart attack watching Rainbow Six Siege before?
Just a little one.
Just a tiny bit. That one was kind of close there as Joystick hits the 180 and damn near takes out Yeti. So very close, and a bag and tag there for Yeti just to make sure that he knows. As for the Sonics, they'll pull ahead here for the very first time on Clubhouse. This is so very hard fought in the moment from both of these teams. Empire having a very solid clear of the cash side, but eventually running into a lot of problems, especially when they all clamber into logistics and start getting taken out by these Sonics members. Super with a big play there as well to really slow them down. Right here it is as he takes down Dan, moving towards the construction door. That was that other annex that they really needed in order to collapse on the site, and well, he made it a null point. Fantastic stuff here from the Sonics as they're looking to take even more as they head back downstairs.
So the Sonics take the large majority of their initial run through the sites, but now they have to return to where things didn't necessarily go according to plan here. Empire with a clean execute from the very beginning of their hold. Now going to look to repeat that success on a return to the basement, but there's already been some changes for the Sonics lineup here. Most notably, they've ditched the Mira and are more than likely going to have a stronger hold on that church wall, just reinforcing all three of them this time, as that was the first fatal mistake they made as they lost a player to a well-placed nade right at the beginning of the round, and from that point forward, Empire had a much easier time being able to trade their way into the site there. Still nearly a clutch from the Sonics, but obviously a little bit safer for Empire, seeing as they had the advantage from the get-go.
Yeah, kind of a risky thing whenever you do end up setting up one of those, but it can pay off massive dividends when used properly. Only issue was the placement of Rexen was a little bit, or rather oh my goodness gracious, Kansan a little bit too close to the wall there inside of that last one as he was taken down through that wall via the frag grenade. Either way, Sonics, as John said, will not be utilizing that in this one. They'll have the echo here from Grixer, so play things around the AK space. Sonics able to fight back in a very serious sense inside of that round. Got it down to the 1 versus 1, but just not able to win it out. So more than likely feeling a lot better about this situation as Yeti will start things off over towards the stall space. It'll be a drone out now for Empire, as they'll more than likely discover him here in a couple of moments.
No huge action from Empire, though, to try and hunt down specifically the Sonics member that's played up onto the main stairs position. Dan just waltzing through the bar, trying to deal with any tricky utility that might have been thrown out here, but there is nothing to be seen. Most notably looking for any sneaky yokai drones that may have been positioned up here. It'd be rare to find that, but certainly not going to be the case this time, as Grixer's going to keep both of those in pocket, ready to use at some later point in this round. Minute gone, though, and that means that Empire should be getting closer to start opening up these hatches and getting even closer to their descent into the basement itself here. Lots of build up towards that, so expect a bit of a slow rolling one here, guys, due to the adjustment that Soniqs also made. Not really try and play out too much against this. Even in blue, it's looking like this got pretty light defense just from the silhouettes right now, but that hatch is going to be the first to be opened here. Nades will start to be dumped back down there as well, and yeah, Rexon's position, which is not very well reinforced, is going to be flushed out pretty much immediately as soon as he starts hearing those nades dump in.
Yes, indeed, and the Soniqs will start to slowly move off from those positions that could possibly get blown up via those frag grenades. Always now working his way into kitchen as he's already established a couple of angles in for the kitchen hallway, but again, they won't have any other soft destruction to really influence anything in towards the armory space for those locations, or more for just anyone rotating across that hallway area. As well as looks like Rexon, current moment still holding on to blue as Soniqs await the arrival of Empire. It's down to the last minute here. A very well-placed frag grenade not only gets rid of a shield, but also tags up Kansan just a little bit. Rexon to be the first to strike, though, as he'll take down Joystick. Shepard now applying himself towards the church wall. And it's going to be a bandit trick here, as I do indeed believe that he picked the wrong one, but Shepard pulling it off just in time, as they're going to continue to play Ring Around the Rosie on this wall. Shepard seriously needs some assistance as Dan takes down Yeti. Will continue to play this game.
You can hear it being plastered down once again. I think this one may have won it, however. Scyther able to pick up the second kill for Empire, as Dan also has pressure coming in from Dirt Tunnel here. No longer can the Soniqs worry about tricking. They need to fight for their lives here, as yet another kill is found for Shepard here. Finally, a push comes back out. Grixer just panic spraying now, trying to keep himself alive, but hey, it works as he knocks out his teammate. It knocks out Always right after it, but unfortunately falls a few moments later to Scyther, as a second successful basement attack is picked up by Empire. Now they need to find more rounds outside of this.
Back and forth we go here on Clubhouse, and you knew it was going to be hard fought from both sides, especially given the circumstances of the offensive bans. It takes a little bit to get the ball rolling here. Soniqs doing their best to try and bandit trick out that situation, but obviously that's exactly what Empire wanted. They were so dedicated to try and play the triple wall inside a church that they were not aware of anybody coming in from not only the Moto space, but also blue, and that's exactly how we see this great move from the Sledge player in towards the site and able to pick up the player inside of blue that Grixer obviously finished off. It's going to be a 2-2 scoreline now as Empire is able to collect that round downstairs and force the Soniqs to CCTV once again.
So let's take a look at the Soniqs setup once more, most notably where those Kona stations are going to go down at. We saw Rexon have early success on the last hold here, but never really able to get himself boosted back up by those. So curious to see if they're going to be a little bit too far out in the open and susceptible mainly to what was the Rotero drones that were being used by Empire. But to be fair to the members of the Soniqs, they also did a fairly good job of mitigating a lot of those Rotero drones. I think I saw at least 2 out of 4 of them getting shot out. So now Empire has ditched the concept entirely and is going to bring a bit of a different flair for their own attack this time.
A bit of a different flavor. We'll see if it works out for them. The Soniqs really not changing up too much to their overarching strategy when it comes to this site. We'll still have Grixer on the spear here as Thunderbird will likely get those Kona stations back in and try and assist them. And let's see if things go down as strangely as they did the last time inside of this area, with both of the members trying to kill each other through that Waits wall and just not able to really land the shots in any convincing way. And that's why Scyther had to throw his hat in the ring and try and deal some damage. And he did so as he was able to take down Grixer inside of the master area. Empire now will await some assistance here to blow this wall, but shouldn't need too much, as again, those mute jammers do not go towards the top of the wall anymore. That's why you see Shepard will repel all the way up towards the half side, or the top half side of that wall, and be able to get it open instead of having to deal with the mute jammer. Past that, Rexon with a beautiful frag here with the MK17. He'll take down Scyther, and that'll be one of the hard breachers out of the puzzle.
Rexon, of course, picking up that first kill, but now had to be very careful due to the openings that have been made in the garage. Nades being flushed in against him also makes this an even more precarious spot to play into. But the good news is, for the attackers, it's also a very awkward angle. And oh man, Rexon had a window there as we saw our player on the other side looking up a little high. I believe it's Joystick here, trying to play out against this Rexon. So close to finding the duel, and he's picked it up, but Joystick ends up winning it out. That ARX striking true yet again as he clears out the lower garage hold.
Good news is he's dealt some serious damage to Joystick, but Dan will continually buff him with the adrenal surges to get his health back up. Still have some drones to be able to influence this, as well as Dan will drop down and start working his way towards Oil Pit, but Yeti, oh, he's inside the space. He knows that he's here. It's a hard shot to hit with the SMG-11, but now he's kind of scared that somebody knows that he's in this space after bullets tag up the hatch above him. And, well, Dan, obviously aware that there might be somebody inside of this area as well, so more than likely Scyther working some drones downstairs if they didn't know that they had Kansan winning a very important fight that you should really never win on that stairwell, but he's just too skilled as he'll take down Always, and now Joystick has to try and find the answer for this space. Kansan trying to look for more, but finally Shepard will take him down on R1. All
good for Kansan, though. He got his one and manages to keep this in an even 3v3. And not only that, but wasted out a good 30 to 40 additional seconds, now leaving Empire with less than a minute to get themselves into the site. And it doesn't really look like they have any construction pressure this time. So this is a very one-dimensional play here at the moment between the pressure in garage and working themselves in from the balcony. You can see still going to be in a Rooney laser gate blocking that off as well. They're going to try to get this Exo off to open things up, and Joystick in the meanwhile has opened up another kill. Shepard with a second. Soniqs are falling to pieces here. The insight setup is just not enough, and they don't have enough presence to fend this back here. We're going to see the gas work its way out into the open, but he's way off the mark for the planter here. So Super left alone, not able to clutch it out, and another round going to be found for Empire as they go up to 3 here, inching towards the end of the half, where they'll take the lead on this attacking side.
Yes, indeed. Slow rolling there, but solid intel game that kept them in it throughout most of it. Pretty influential fight down low inside of Garage that Rexon was able to win out initially, but obviously the refrag coming through and Empire able to take control of Garage at the end of the day, and that's exactly why we see this plant go down. Past that, the Soniqs try and fend them off from the rafters, and, well, it just simply doesn't work out, and the man advantage way too strong for Super to try and fight against, especially given that he only has one more Toxic Babe in his pocket. That's going to be 3-2 now for Empire on their offensive side as Soniqs look to equalize here and see what they can get done on their offensive half, but not before we go to Gym Bedroom.
So one final rotation here for our defensive roster before they are thrusted onto the attacking side. That's going to once again field a fairly similar roster, mainly trying to employ utility mitigation here between the Jaeger as well as Wamai combo. Drones will be limited out by Yeti's mute jammers, and aside from that, Grixer will have himself a comfortable pick by going on to the Alibi. Super will take the responsibility of the Maestro and that very important inner sight position, which will start off more than likely over here towards the bathroom and kind of vary as the round goes on. He'll need to keep this alive for as long as possible, though, to try and fend off any direct push from Empire. Speaking of which, here they come as they're out on the board, bringing that same lineup that we saw in the last round.
Here comes the boys, ladies and gentlemen. Empire now out and about on the map here, and no big change up in what their overall utility is looking like. Rexon getting tagged up quite a bit here. I don't know if he got caught in the drone hole or exactly what happened there, but either way, he is really wishing that they had Thunderbird this time around, as he still has to hold on to this pivotal location like we did see the last time. And if you remember, Empire pressured him in a pretty convincing way. It was Joystick's Gemini to push up the stairwell that was followed up with the Empire frag as they were able to collect him off of the stairwell. Rexon now looking to play a pretty cheeky position, also prone at the top of red stairs at the moment, and continue to try and apply his Wamai discs to this location. Joystick now out with that clone to see if he can assist, and no, that's not Rexon's, I promise you, even though the HUD kind of throws it that direction. Rexon also going to fall off as he knows that Empire are going to get aggressive in this space.
Pretty much everybody from the Soniqs falling back here, giving over a lot of respect to the Empire's attacks. This has a bit of a double-edged sword effect on the Soniqs, though. It seemed like they're not necessarily able to hold on to their insight positions here just because of that great intel game being played up by Empire right now. So while, yes, they're keeping themselves alive, they're able to keep the fight going until the end of the round, they're not necessarily able to convert those positions into any successful defenses here. Despite what we were seeing earlier on in the half, things have turned for the worse for Soniqs, and now Empire is in charge as they try to finish off this attacking half with another lead in their pocket of 4-2. Keep in mind, though, folks, this is the disadvantaged side, and we saw a very, very similar chain of events playing out on Coastline. So the Empire fans at home can't feel too comfortable just yet here, even though under normal circumstances, would be a very comfortable lead, even if this ended up going 3-3.
Yes, indeed. And once again, that Mute Jammer not going to get too much done up against Shepard, as he can simply just repel halfway up the wall and place down that exothermic charge. He'll now have Jacuzzi opened and ready for the taking for the Empire squad as they deal some damage to Yeti here inside of Stash. Dan will continue to apply pressure with this LMG on the balcony, as well it was intended to do. With so many bullets inside of this mag, it should be fairly straightforward affair for him, as he'll continually work this space. For Empire now, though, they're starting to dwindle down on this timer, and they really need to hop too. Scyther inside of construction awaiting the rotation out of Soniqs, but they're simply not going to give it to him. They will hand a Nitro Cell over as Grixer hits a beautiful shot out on the balcony, and he'll remove Dan from play.
Joystick, though, going to push in towards Logi. Oh, man, the immediate pump. However, threat from above as always trades out both of the players inside of Logi, and now the assault begins. Shepard moves in to knock out Grixer, and a second one found from him. The insight clearance is brutal, as once more a single trade found from Super, but that is it. It's surgical from the Empire squad as they wipe the floor with the defense of the Soniqs. Yet again, the set of a fourth round as they switch sides.
Such a difficult round there for the Soniqs, but Empire finding the answer that they needed, always the big player inside of that, as he takes down the two players inside of logistics and makes it a whole heck of a lot easier for them to try and take control. Past that, Shepard with some big frags to knock it down to just Super, who had to try and win it out inside of a 1v3, and although you got the 81, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the round. He's able to finally take down Shepard, but not before the rest of Empire can work their way into sight and remove him from play, and Empire are going to extend their lead to 4-2.
Empire not necessarily feeling the immediate start on the basement site that we oftentimes see teams go for. A big talking point right now for Clubhouse is kind of the fact that most, if not all, the sites are a little played out. There's not really a whole lot of room for variance, especially when it comes to your defensive strategies. Basement especially so. That means, again, attackers will pretty much know exactly how to approach and, more importantly, tear apart your defensive setup under all circumstances. So they'll go upstairs here, where they might have a little bit more control over the pacing and greater capability to deny the entries outright from the Soniqs by denying utility usage, especially over here by areas like the construction wall and, of course, the Jacuzzi opening, too. Since we do have a bandit in place, there's that slight chance of tricking to be seen, but with 3 hard breaches, I'd say it's a far cry that we actually see that wall be fully held through most of the round.
I would completely agree with you, my friend. It's going to be pretty difficult for Empire to try and fend this off, especially if Shepard does end up trying to bandit trick. There's a lot of different ways that you can influence that positioning, especially from like the CCTV window, or if they want to try and go underneath and nade him out in that position. Used to be that you just went under and impacted it with like Zofia or something along those lines, but obviously with the amount of nade play that we're seeing here at SI, it'd be a lot easier. Just toss a frag up there and blow that man sky high. The bandit batteries will be applied healthily towards that wall from Shepard. Will still have one inside of his hands, as he can more than likely apply that later on if he so chooses. For Soniqs now, though, they're out and about. They're already droning things out for this top floor, as Dan looking to see if he can possibly get any damage off on these players. He sees that man rotating around the garage space as the perfect angle for him to utilize. As long as he sits inside of that door frame, he will not be tagged by that run-out timer. Either way, though, Joystick now holding things down inside a garage. He'll drop down towards Oil Pit, as I believe he won't be discovered just yet.
Joystick going to see if he can sneak up against any of the early clears from the Soniqs, especially over here towards Blue, but won't necessarily find such an easy time there, as everyone else from Empire is still going to be positioned. Expected position upstairs, and of course, you guys can see here, there's plenty of overwatch to this play from Joystick. Now a drone is going to suss him out, so can't really maintain the spot anymore. Just can fend off any clear attempts, but in fact, it's going to be Dan that strikes first here, knocking out 1 out of 3 of the hard breach pieces. Excuse me, no, Finka going down, as I just saw the POV position there. Kansan and Rexon both able to find exchanges, however, as we see the Bandit and the Wamai lost to the defense, and Soniqs immediately take control of the player advantage off of those trades.
Grixer not able to get things done like he did on Coastline, currently 3-7, but fortunately enough for the Soniqs, Rexon has been hitting his shots, currently 7-5, as they open up the balcony wall here and start looking for a plant in the default space for CCTV. Shepard, or rather Scyther, will begin applying these smokes towards this space, as Shepard has already been taken out. He was playing the Bandit here earlier on. This 3 versus 4 looking like it could be handled by Empire as long as this utility continues to be used well. Rexon, though, with the possibility of finding yet another kill here if somebody oversteps. I love this angle from Always inside of construction. Can deal some damage, but he'll have to drop it now as he's given up the goods. Not able to land his shots, and now he's starting to take damage from the opposite end.
Joystick with the lineup, but can't follow through upon it. Just a dodge out of position here, and into yet another member of the Soniqs as Rexen finds the cross to be able to knock out Joystick. Now the smokes start to flood back in, but the gas is going to come in from the defense here to hold them back as well. Won't necessarily stop them outright, however, especially if they have both the vision points obscured, and it looks like they've been able to accomplish that. The wrap through the CCTV doorway, though, could still stop this plan as they attempt to go for it, but Super taking a lot of heat there, but Rexen stops that threat as he moves forward. Someone needs to secure this plan, but never mind, they don't need to, as Rexen just shuts them down outright.
Well, that's 4 kills for Rexen inside of that one. Truly disgusting with that AK-12 and desperately needed for the offensive side as well. The Soniqs find their round to start off the offensive side, and this is starting to look like a game, folks. And also past that, this is starting to look scary for Empire. I know it's the first round of this half, but Empire cannot allow the Soniqs to get too far ahead here, as this Clubhouse is starting to lean into the offensive favor.
2 potential comebacks in the cards for Soniqs. They already pulled it off back on map number 1, taking it all the way to overtime and shutting it down there with both rounds going into their pocket, and now looking to pull off quite literally the same exact thing on map number 2 as they started with a 2-4 deficit back on Coastline as well. Here we go, though, into what could be the tying round. Empire tries their gym defense and will bring a fairly expected amount of utility to the table. Still going to keep the Bandit in fold here, too, to hold back. More than likely for the majority of that utility, the interior of the bathroom wall, but also probably going to throw some of those down over onto the jacuzzi balcony wall also. The big pickup, however, that they have brought to the table is going to be Dan over on the Warden. They're assuming that this is going to be another smoke execute from Soniqs, and to some extent they are right, as obviously they've brought 2 of those themselves. So that will allow for them to correspond to that, using the smart glasses to peer through that and maybe stop so much free real estate from being taken by the Soniqs this time.
Yeah, lots of damage could come back onto the Soniqs because of that operator. Obviously, they won't allow or be allowed to look in through that smoke. And past that, some bulletproofs as well that could influence that situation. But more than likely, we'll just see these smokes utilized to burn out some utility. Luckily enough, it's only Scyther that has brought anything to condemn these throwables. So we get Soniqs out and onto the field. As for Empire, they'll be holding on to things for a time. Dan in a pretty peculiar location currently inside of the kitchen hallway, looking to see if he can deal some early damage to the Soniqs members. Also trying to find a drone inside of the space and see if the jig is actually up. Gonna continue to hold on to this for a time, but more than likely we'll rotate back upstairs once things start to get hairy. The Soniqs already applying an exothermic charge to Jacuzzi as well to start us off here for round 8.
Well, the Soniqs already establishing step 1 of the utility clearance that needs to be taken out to give them proper access to this site. And that's going to be the jacuzzi balcony. Like we talked about before, though, not much of an emphasis being put on that by our defenders. Probably just a mute jammer at best blocking that one off, which they could very easily deal with a well-placed frag grenade. Instead, the majority of those bandit batteries, I believe, are going to be saved to be used on the bathroom walls to try and stop the interior of the site from being blown open and a dangerous angle from being established for Overwatch on the outside by the Soniqs. Soniqs now prioritizing the clear inside of CCTV and Cash, which will challenge both Empire's as well as Scyther's position. Back over here at top red here. Scyther, though, still well reinforced. 2 ADSs supporting this position, so he can survive quite a bit of a utility dump, but no, does not want to stick around here. He's going to abandon all of that one, as his teammate can no longer sustain in construction, and that means he would be left on an island at best, being able to translate probably a 1-for-1, which is not a trade, apparently, that Empire would have been happy with.
Pulling out a very similar page from what we saw from the Soniqs on their defensive side for the second defense of this gym bedroom space, as they fell back pretty early as well, but if you can even call it that. There's a minute remaining now for the Soniqs as they begin to set things up around the actual site. Rexen's going to climb over the window and make sure that things are a little bit easier for him, but he's also going to tag up the alibi clone, so they'll know where he's going for the time being. Joystick down low currently inside of Billiards, and he can play spoils to this plan if they end up going for this, but as we've seen quite a few of these rounds ending inside of a DM fashion instead of the plant actually going down, and this one more than likely going to be the same. Rexer still trying to play this window out with his teammate. He'll have to play around this alibi clone as Rexen begins to move in. The case currently on Super here as he'll try and tag up always. A nade out as they try and look down. It'll actually take out Dan as Rexen will do that. Kansan will pick up yet another. Super gets tagged by Grixer from behind as they begin the plant here on the mattress. Nitro Cell out should be able to catch him, and it will. Always has the cross. He'll take down Kansan as well as he simply simply tries to sprint into the site. It's a 3 versus 4 now. Make it a 2 versus 4. Make it a 1 versus 4 as Yeti takes down a multitude of bodies. Joystick doesn't know where this plant's going. He doesn't have a nitro cell, and he doesn't have a damn clue.
The right player.
He's going to have to try and rotate up towards the other cache end, as if he goes main, he's more than likely bodied on the entry. He'll get droned out here, and well, that's going to be the call sign for the Soniqs to hold things up in construction. This is looking like an SQ round.
Joystick just spraying into the wall, hoping he gets lucky, but as you might expect, it will not pan out that way. Grixer gets the final kill, and the Soniqs negotiate their next pickup here, as they're going to be able to put themselves onto the board, and once again, race that much closer to a comeback as they tie it up. Empire not even able to get the 5th or 6th round this time. It's a direct tie with 2 immediate rounds going into the pockets of the Soniqs here as we go 4-4.
Rexon has been activated inside of this series. He is just constantly punishing these Empire members for peeking him. And what a better man to have the AK-12 in hand as well. That gun always very, very difficult to try and fight against. But luckily for Empire, in a certain sense, he won't have it this time around, but still definitely going to have a very solid AR at the end of the day. The C7E more than likely in his hands, as he will 6-pick away from the ace and pick up Jackal. Oh, and it's actually a fantastic pickup as well, identifying what Empire was going to do for their defensive strategy. This is going to help them out time and time again, as well. The only counter to Jackal happens to be Cav, and we've only seen that like once here at this entire LAN. So we'll be able to track down all of these members, including Scyther on the Vigil. That backpack does not assist him with this info ping, so the Soniqs definitely going to be happy about this pickup.
And is going to try to capitalize, of course, on some of the last-minute execute nature that we've seen Soniqs try to bring into this round by adding these Capcan traps into the fold as well for their defensive lineup here. Remember, guys, Capcan was changed at some point over the last year here to allow you to now stack the EDD devices. They're allowing you to outright kill someone if they waltz through both of them. So you need to be a little bit more careful, and more importantly, you need to clear those out to make sure you're not going to get just destroyed trying to walk through a random doorway.
Well, the Soniqs able to tie things up on that last round as they continually deal serious damage to Empire. So we'll look to hold on to this top floor for the time being and delay the Soniqs clear as much as possible. Yeti will start things off on the CCTV wall, just applying some of those X-Kairos pellets to destroy the top end of that. That Mute Jammer will still be stuck around there, at least as of now. Scyther currently holding the top of cache is Super. I believe he's over at the Jacuzzi wall, and yes, indeed he is. He'll pop that open, but Dan finds Grixer very early on here, so the Adrenal Surge is already off the board.
Good start, a promising start once again for our defenders to finally get their own pickup rolling here as they try to control this defensive half a bit more here with their first round, hopefully coming off of a basement play. Grixer dead. Other members of the Soniqs have been stepping up, though. It's no longer Grixer making the hero plays, as we've seen in some of these past maps. It's Rexon currently leading the charge for the team inside of this map at 11-5 with Yeti. Also having some great results. Speaking of Rexon, though, a good start to the round for him, but he's forced to fall back here. And no one from Empire wants to follow through on the repeak either, despite nearly taking him down here. They fall back into the basement, as now they're down to a 4v4. They don't want to risk anyone else's life.
Nitro Cell goes off up top just to make sure they utilize their utility.
Oh, they got one.
Yeti runs into a execute door. He had full HP as well and just didn't check his door frames. Ends up losing his life to Capcan, of all things. You don't get to see that one every day, but Rexon, luckily enough, he'll fire back and he'll take down Dan himself. Yeah,
very rare do you see that actually work there. So once again, just capitalizing on the kind of loose nature that Soniqs have been moving into parts
Rexon.
of the map with.
Thank you.
Yep. Rexon gonna waltz in here now, keeping an eye on this to make sure that we don't lose a second player to those EDDs. With a minute left here, the Soniqs still are going to need to speed things up to a certain extent. They don't have the hatches open yet. They've lost a lot of their utility that's necessary to get it, so Super is going to have to do the job instead with the Exos here. Probably only going to see one hatch get open, and he'll more than likely want to save the second one to try and pop Church if that'll be in the cards at all, but with such limited time remaining, even that might not be happening here as they need to rush to get themselves in position. Currently, once again, trying to suss out the intel, the positions of the members of Empire as well, but just wasting a whole lot of time here setting up. Here we go, Kansan with the Moto drop, tries to go for the default cam takeout, spots out Shepard, but he wins the duel. Now Rexon sits down on the ground as well, so Super is left alone here to clutch this 1v3 again. 20 seconds to go here. This judges that first duel, but still can win it. However, not going to happen as Scyther claims the final 2 kills with that other member still down on the ground. And Empire find their first pickup for the defensive half.
Very well done. It was going to be hard fought either way you slice it, simply because of the health that Rexon had after those initial engagements. Made it almost impossible to try and push in the way that he wanted to. Tried to influence even more by dropping down Oil Pit and pushing in towards blue after playing that space for a while, but just simply could not get the things rolling over on the opposite side, so it made it pretty easy for Empire to deal with that. That's going to be their very first defensive round here as Empire finally able to collect something on this defensive end. It's going to be CCTV cash for their very next side as they're going to 6-pick away from the Melusi and pick up the Mute. They'll have Bandit along for the ride and likes of Shepard as well, so maybe we'll see some more Bandit tricking or something of the sort. I highly doubt it, but always in the cards at the end of the day.
It's a lead re-established for the Russian roster, as they now just need 2 additional rounds to be able to push us to our 3rd and final map. Soniqs, however, can respond, and we've already seen that from them time and time again on this very site, as now Empire will be forced out of their comfort zone and into a retry where success has evaded them earlier inside of this half. They'll return to CCTV and cash. The Bandit batteries will come back in for Shepard to blockade off, however, temporarily the main access point, and probably 1 to 2 additional walls, mainly the construction play. Also, away from that though, it's the usual assortment of utility, 2 mitigators, the smoke to block this off as we start to reach the 45-second mark, and of course the mute jammers, which we're going to see quite often inside of this very claustrophobic site. A few of those can block out the entirety of the radius and completely deny interior site intel.
Yes, indeed, and as well as all the wall denial already being applied as well. This mute jammer inside of the garage space will hold up the single panel, making it a little bit difficult for them to actually get a hold of that area. For Rexen, we'll see how he wants to try and apply himself to this bottom area. He has to worry about the mute jammers in here as well, but as we've been talking about time and time again, it's not going to be as easy as it once was with those mute jammers to hold things up. Grixer will take down Dan, a huge pickup as well, as he is currently the top frag as of right now for Empire. And speaking of frags, Shepard has been finding his as, well, Empire has their full bench back, so Shepard back in his element here after coming out of quarantine.
Soniqs, however, is still knocking out one of the strongest contenders from Empire inside of this map, specifically as Dan currently leads the charge for his team. So him down on the ground, he'll certainly be missed. That doesn't mean, however, the rest of the team can't step up in a big way in the remaining 2 minutes to fend off the aggression from the Soniqs, who have taken most of the lower control they need, but no joystick Walton right up here. There's no overwatch for him right now. He's been able to creep forward. The rappel's on a drone. The other player is not watching out for this. It's going to be huge for joystick as he waltzes right up, but is he paying attention to the rappel? We could see an exchange come in. Yeti fires out the shots. There's the head, but he can't lock it in there. Our player on Empire stays alive. Joystick keeps himself in the fight here, and he wants the fight as he goes back out to try and knock out Yeti's head. Neither one can connect their shots here, so this is going to turn a little awkward as they both are locked in position for the time being.
Yeti just going to continue to hold on to this area. Technically speaking, holding on to joystick in a certain sense. He's locked into this staircase. He has to kill Yeti, or Yeti has to kill him. It's a staring contest in between these two. Is the upside down rappel? Exactly. The upside down rappel, never fun to contest, John. But joystick, it's so close. Yeti finally gets him as he'll shut him down. And well, that was probably the longest staring contest we've had this entire event, as they constantly look back and forth in between the same angle for well over a minute there. But finally, a frag grenade will come underneath Shepard. Is he going to go for the bandit trick? He is indeed.
And he got it.
Get it. Unfortunately enough, no one paying attention to what he could possibly do inside of that situation. And also, oh no, Rexen goes down as Shepard is getting everything done for Empire now.
Shepard, the MVP here, certainly. He's out of batteries though, and that means the second EXO is going to go off and knock out this jacuzzi, or rather the main balcony wall sitting outside of the site. That was really the last thing Soniqs needed to be able to get themselves in position to execute towards the site. So the pressure is on for both Shepard and Scyther. Shepard even watching out for the drop down he could potentially make to swing against Red. He's expecting presence to come in from downstairs, and he's right to a certain extent as Yeti is positioned down there. Where is the follow-up, though? Waiting for this reload to be completed for Grixer here. Now they're going to work their way in. A drone chucked in, so their dead teammate can overwatch that and make sure there's no aggressive plays. Yeti strikes true on the red push. Shepard now responds as he looks to be the true hero in this round, but he's too far back. Can't win the fight with the MP7. Yeti knocks out both players, and it's another round up on the board for the North American roster as they're racing towards a 2-0 and an upper bracket final position.
Tied up yet again at 5-5. The Soniqs able to negotiate for that round, and it was pretty scary at certain moments, especially with Shepard landing some serious shots inside of Garage, able to get rid of the exothermic charge as well, but finally they're able to take him down and work their way in towards the site. Ends in more of a death match than it does anything, but still the Soniqs able to clamber on here. hold on inside of this situation. And once again, just this back and forth between Joystick and Yeti inside of the secret space. Quite funny at the end of the day, but finally able to secure the kill for the Soniqs later on inside of that one. Joystick wasting out some serious time, but just didn't matter at the end of the day. As for Empire, they have to shift on over to Gym and Bedroom, and they'll be holding on to this here for round 11.
Now, once again, the same lineup coming into the fold here. We're still going to see the Warden be picked up for Dan also to try and fend off any smoke pushes Soniqs may try to go for, but Soniqs able to win out the round without the necessary need to utilize that on the previous attempt here, just bullying out the extended positions, leaving Empire with a shell of their former defense before Soniqs even really got started. So able to close that one down. Now leaves us at a 5-5 scoreline here. Soniqs, to some extent, will need to pick this one up here. As keep in mind, Empire, well, they haven't been able to negotiate wins on this site just yet. They did have a pretty confident, at least by my opinion, hold back in the basement here, which they're absolutely going to return to on the 12th round. So Soniqs will want the safety of that 6th pickup here, so that if Empire repeat their success, they can guarantee at minimum the overtime to retry things.
Now, this round is of the utmost importance to both of these teams. This could be the round that wins you Clubhouse, no matter who you are rooting for. Empire will be holding things down inside of Cash on the extended hold here with Scyther all the way out inside of Garage. They do not want to give this up to the Soniqs early on here, as it'll assist them with cleaning out the Cash space. Rexon now more than likely will try and establish a cutoff or something like that by breaking up some of these windows here for a time, just making sure there's no holes in that so he doesn't get taken out by an Empire member lurking inside of one of those window frames, as the Mute Jammer will be dealt with. A frag grenade in from Kansan, the exothermic down will clear out the wall, and inside the first minute we already have Jacuzzi for the offensive squad.
Soniqs already with that Jacuzzi balcony opened up. That's the first step. Shepard just going to chuck down the first battery against the bathroom hold here just to ensure we don't see a quick little Selma toss from Rexon to open that up and remove a very powerful position. Rexon, in the meanwhile, does have to be careful. There is still extended pressure over inside of CCTV that it could get crossed out by very quickly if he is not careful here, since Scyther, I believe, is still in position over in that part of the map. Indeed, it is going to be him. You can see him leaning into that very same window I was just talking about right now, but there is other members of the team looking to try and potentially jump out here and surprise the Soniqs as well. With a minute and a half remaining, Soniqs still have a good amount of time to put Overwatch on some of these positions and see if they might get lucky with a catch. But now, man, Kansan is leaping right in here and, yeah, paying the price for it, as you would generally expect. Joystick, in fact, taking them both down. Rest of the team does flood in behind that. Rexon only able to negotiate one exchange, but there's the second. We're back on even terms into a 3v3 here, but now they're stuck inside of the brick hall, trying to get them into the site. Rexon looking to try and fend off the rotations from the construction area, and so far has got it covered, so his teammates shouldn't have too much holding them back from going into the site, but they're scared of this Logi rotator for good reason too. Dan brought down low. Yeti nearly has that damage traded onto it, but he comes out on top of the duel. Always, though, strikes right back, knocks out the biggest fragger on the Soniqs right now, and keeps this fight even.
Come on, Yeti, 10 and 6 in the moment. Super on low HP as well. The stun in as Shepard wins out the fight. It's up to the team captain inside of a 1 versus 2. He knows there's a bathroom player. He'll win it out. Super, can you get it done on the biggest stage of them all inside of Rainbow Six Siege? Super, inside of the 1 versus 1. 20 seconds remaining. He has case. He can fake this all day up against Always. Obviously, no cameras to influence this. Always will have to do this off of his ears as he awaits this. He's just sitting in the corner. The plant now secured from Super. He'll be able to hold on to this more than likely from the balcony if he so chooses. Still inside of Awaits for now. He shifts up towards the hallway, and this could be it. Stash now for Always. Moving in through. Not able to find him just yet, but look at Super. He's moving in behind, and Super gets it done. Round 11 goes to the team captain as he shuts up everybody on the Empire bench.
The virtue of time plays heavily into Super's favor there as he's allowed the full commit to that plant. Our player from Empire does not believe he was going to fully stick it and that he might have baited out for a swing there. Does not end up happening. Like the pros don't fake me, in full effect here as he full commits himself to the plant inside of Gym and is given all the time needed to rotate all around the world, essentially, and shut down that last member of Empire. It's the Soniqs racing up to a 6th round here with only one more needed to 2-0 Empire and knock them into the lower bracket. But we now return to the basement where so far Empire has been able to control things on this defensive side.
All I'm going to say is Ubisoft, I really appreciate the script this year. I mean, North America's looking really good. Super's clutching up in dire moments. I mean, what more could you possibly want out of the Six Invitational, especially with Super inside of that clutch? I mean, that was paramount to their success here on Clubhouse. If Empire wins that round, they more than likely take this 7-5. It's very, very scary at the moment. Empire's sticking to their guns inside of this basement strategy, John. And as you said, it worked out so very well for them the last time, although the Soniqs not going to be 6-picking off of Rexon's pick this time. They're going to keep the ace in, so we'll see if he can possibly deal even more damage inside of this round with that. Past that, Yeti actually picking up the mantle from what we saw from Grixer on the first map, 10-7 in the moment.
It is going to be triple hard breach for the Soniqs too, as they did run a little bit low on that, as they lost a couple of players due to the more aggressive peaks from Empire in the early round here. So going to triple down on it in hopes that they'll keep enough alive here to not only get the hatches appropriately open here, and especially earlier on in the round, with possibility of getting a few other angles popped open to give them the vision they need to flush out, or at least at minimum push Empire into an awkward corner where they can then execute upon them without too much of an issue. Soniqs, one opportunity and one opportunity only to end this inside of regulation. If not, we go to a second overtime to decide the true winner of this map and potentially the true winner of the series if the Soniqs still want to hunt for that 2-0. Dan is hunting in the meanwhile upstairs here, maintaining kitchen hall positioning. Does spot out the drone that's more than likely seen him though, so he's going to turn tail, play closer to the stairs until another one flushes him all the way down the stairs.
Well, Joystick has the ability to set them up for success inside of this round. Scary one, either way you slice it for both teams. The Super will pop open the wall in similar fashion to how Shepard was getting things done for their jacuzzi takes. And oh no, it starts early here. Yeti making some holes up top. He's taken down Joystick after the yellow pings come through. Some stuns out, but they more than likely know that they've secured this kill, as Joystick will continue to bleed out on the rafters. Scyther moves his way up through secret stairs here to see if he can possibly pick up a player that will be moving in through the garage area. Just going to continue to hold on to this, as although they found their pick, they don't know it just yet. A minute and a half remain for the Soniqs to try and close this out.
Using him as bait here, trying to see if anyone might come back into the garage and try to find that res. So certainly knowing that he's down, Rexon's drone would have confirmed that. So there you go. Joystick out and down for the count, as he cannot contribute in this round. And Soniqs have the 5v4 advantage as they're going to start working their way into the basement pretty shortly here. Scyther, though, still wants a direct contestation at the top of blue stairs. Not going to get it, though, as he does hear that drone roaming towards him here. Triggers the sensor to be able to keep himself obscured and also take out the drone without being seen as he goes deeper into the depths of the site, where he'll be obviously a lot safer for this last minute of play. That's the problem, though, again, for the Soniqs. The time management on this last attack wasn't necessarily great, so they still have to find a way to get themselves down with an appropriate amount of time to clear out the setup. Otherwise, Empire will mop up the shop and pick up their own 6th.
But listen to the sounds of that hard breach, and listen to the sounds of Kansan being removed from play. It's the equalizer here from the Nitro cell as Empire finds their mark. But with 30 seconds remaining, they have to get something done here. Rexon, can he get it done up against the Vigil? No, he cannot. Scyther dealing so much damage to him, but luckily enough, Grixer's still alive in this one, and Grixer still has an opportunity to pick up some serious frags. But look at this time. 20 seconds remain here as the smokes continue to pour out from Shepard. They're going to have to force this in a certain sense. A smoke out for Blue as well, as Super takes a lot of damage on the entry. He's down, and Empire starting to deal the damage of the Soniqs. Rexon's done inside of Blue. Yeti and Grixer, they have to get the plant down. Yeti's moved inside of Moto. He's already trying to overwatch this, but Shepard to secure it. They simply cannot work their way into the basement with all of that smoke utility inside of the space.
Way too slow, unfortunately, from the Soniqs. Not nearly enough pressure being put onto the basement setup. Only just starting to challenge them with, what, 30 seconds left there? So that's certainly all of the Toxic Babes being used to flush out the time. We can even see a second one being deployed over towards Blue because they knew they had the position at main stairs locked out so well. They weren't even worried about that Moto push because they had the crosses from both inside of Arsenal and because they saved the Blue play with that nice little smoke toss there. No win was found for the Soniqs. They have themselves running into that setup from Empire, and they will drop the final round, sending us into, to be fair, somewhat expected overtime here. We had talked about the possibility of this a few rounds back, but now this is where everything is thrown into the air. Empire has got to be a little bit worried about about their potential position here because, yeah, they can go back to basement and maybe win a second consecutive round here, but what are they going to do after that when they go back to the defensive side and it's locked down on their second try 2 rounds from now? That's the big question because this is the only site they've been able to control so far.
This is the time where we just put up the notes, John. There's no note that's going to help you inside of this overtime in the current moment. Empire and Soniqs inside of a best of 3 rounds to see if the Soniqs can take down the Russian machine, the team that finally got their entire squad back on the bench and have looked quite solid throughout this series. The Soniqs able to negotiate in the last overtime to take it 8-6. They're looking to do it here yet again off the back of Rexon and Yeti's efforts. Grixer, though, has also came to the party with some pretty fun toys, a cool party trick, if you will. The Candelas will work their way in, and fortunately enough for them, they don't have Warden this time around, so the smokes will also hit their mark from Super and Grixer. So this could be quite the interesting one, especially when you take into account that Kansan also has brought Zofia. There's so many new toys for Soniqs to use inside of this round. Can Empire slow them down enough to pick up this round yet again on the basement?
This is what the Soniqs will use, those Candelas hopefully being their ticket to earlier access to the basement level and flushing out at least part of the defensive setup from Empire that has plagued them for both of the attempts made inside of regulation, as they didn't even get close. The only real black mark on Soniqs' overall attack, as they failed outright to get in both times here. But other than that, look nearly flawless on their attacks, especially inside of the clutch for the other 2 site plays. Yeti working his way in here, quickly going to try and pop open the kitchen hatch, and we'll get that first one off without too much of an issue. They don't even want to step foot on the interior of the room this time because of what happened on the previous round where a nitro is chucked out just when they were about to get the second one blown up. So they're going to play this a little bit more safely here, and Yeti, of course, only using 2 pellets a shot is not going to mind these being bled out. We will see other X-Kairos go. I don't think that that one is going to, blow the hatch entirely. Need 4 to open it up there, so they'll throw 1 more on top of that one to be able to open it up fully this time around here. And they were right to be worried about the nitro cell. As you can see, Shepard priming it up, but never being given an opportunity to throw it. He'll fall back and save that for the descent.
Well, in typical Siege fashion, the first minute and a half is usually dedicated to utility game, especially when it comes to the basement defense, unless we see that roam, but didn't see it this time around here from Empire. The hatch will be opened up as Yeti traverses the stairwell and tries to come down and open up this wall in this space. He'll get rid of one of the mute jammers here to make the drone game a little bit easier for them, as a drone will come back to light and they'll be able to get some extra insight into this church location. Kansan taking some serious heat, though. I don't know if it was from a nitro cell or exactly what happened there, but either way, so much damage onto him now in the current moment. As we enter this last minute, the Soniqs have quite a bit to do. Empire drained just slightly on utility, but fortunately for them, Scyther still has all of these smokes.
All right, boys, what's the play here? This is the pivotal point where you've been messing up in the previous 2 attempts here, so how are you going to make it up this time? Already have players halfway down through main stairs. It looks like it's going to be a flood through the hatch here to try and get them inside of Arsenal. Empire does have 2 players with Overwatch in that, but the Candelas are going to blind them out. Joystick still able to hold on his own, though, as he picks up the first response, but Super full commits to the plant behind those. Can't make it happen, though. The crosses are just way too strong. Not enough players being in position down there. They've lost it outright. They've got to try and rush down through main stairs, but Dan is watching that one. This plan has failed, and more than likely going to be looking at a 7-6 scoreline here for Empire, unless Grixer can be a true hero. He's getting melted out by an Evil Eye as well, losing his only other teammate, and with Shepard closing down on the final kill, the prophecy comes true, and it's now a 7-6 lead for Empire as we move into the second round of OT.
Practically a flawless round there from Empire. Soniqs able to negotiate at least for the hatches as well as some soft destruction, but there's no Overwatch on Super. He tries to go for the default plant there on the mid stack, and it simply just doesn't get anything done. The cross angle from Church takes him out. No one's covering the dirt player either, as those Candelas constantly pop off. It not only makes it difficult for the opponent to see, but also everyone except Ying in order to see on the offensive side as well. So extremely unfortunate in the moment, but now for the Soniqs, it's attack pause inside of overtime here as Joe Bro has some wise words to say and hopefully a game-winning strategy as they enter defense.
Need to tie this one up here. Won't even win the game on the response for this round. This is a much-needed pickup here, but if they get past this one, Soniqs are probably going to scream pretty loud here, as they'll know they'll have a much better chance of closing down the second attacking round they'll have to play into for the reasons I explained earlier. Empire has only been able to control their basement holds here, so unless they are able to rebound on their upstairs defenses, Soniqs will more than likely be in prime position to shut down map number 2 and win out the series. But before we get to that, that, they still have to win out their own upstairs hold, which they're going to be falling into in a few seconds once this pause expires.
Now here is the scary thing for the side of the Soniqs. When it comes to their site setup so far for their defenses, CCTV has only bagged them one round. The other one was Jim, as it was a 4-2 split on that side for them. So they're going to allocate themselves to CCTV. Grixer 6-picking away from the Jaeger and onto the Thunderbird instead. They'll still have Wamai for denial on top of that, but this round, either way you cut it, it's looking pretty serious in between these two. Empire, they're going to be sticking to their guns here as to what they had been running normally, all except for, I believe, Dan, who will now have some of those adrenal surges to play with.
Adrenal surges will come in and hopefully boost the capability for Empire. More than importantly, to back away from any early fights that go badly and reboost those players' HP. Obviously, with the unlimited range on that as well, don't have to get them in position like you would with some other operators. So things will work out quite confidently for Empire in that case, and obviously help to reboost them if these early fights go awry. I'm not really sure if Soniqs are going to try to play into any early aggression here, however, at least not too heavily, mainly because of the switch from Grixer moving over from the Jaeger onto the Thunderbird there. That Jaeger pick would have normally been the comfortable position to play that into, but instead we're probably going to end up seeing the majority of that from Rexin, who's had a fairly good track record here for first kill specifically on this site. I believe both times it was played defensively by the Soniqs. He got the first kill there, so going to look to translate that for a third time inside of a very pivotal round.
Well, Empire now out and onto the field, and that timer could signify when Clubhouse ends. We'll just have to see. Shepard will begin breaking up the CCTV wall in a convincing way, as we expect, just waiting for his teammates to allocate themselves in the way that they want to before he blows that open and opens up a whole myriad of different angles that they'll now have to worry about. Skyros pellets down on the wall out here, and no mute jammer in this location, so now the garage access even larger here for the offensive side. Super also taking a lot of heat from the player out here on balcony, but luckily enough, since they have those Kona stations, he'll be able to heal himself up. Runs over to the one inside of Cash, will get healed up fully by the one sitting next to his deployable shield, so it's not all for naught on that peak.
Yep, Super will still feel nice and confident at full HP. Rexin, though, he's got to get the heck out of here. Way too much pressure against him. The players at Garage Door can swing in towards him as well, but he's being so cautious of a play from the front door when there's no threat inside. Either way, though, Empire are not able to pinch him. Nades go up on top to try to find Kansan. He's going to get flushed out of this position fairly shortly. He was able to negotiate a 1-for-1 on the previous attempt here, but he still has a bit of support coming in for Rexin. However, Kansan has been lost. The nade takes him into a downstate. Rexin does not see the lurk from Joystick either. He creeps right in. But Rexin won't be caught, of course, because he's fallen back. He's behind this soft panel now. Goes back to the door. This could be dangerous. This is where they have Overwatch for him. No, makes the smart choice and falls back to the inside of stock. He knows that this is too dangerous of a play, especially considering the loss of Kansan. But no, Rexin will still be found. Dan catches him through the stock doorway. Empire are doing it. 2 players are down, and now they have an absolute right to execute in. Yet he lurking back up. He may have to be the savior of this squad. Once again, a lot of players on rappel. That door is partially breached. We might be able to hop out through the window there and get some damage done. No one from the Soniqs can do anything here. Every single aggressive move they try to make is leading to their deaths, as now Scyther will take down Kansan outright. Super nearly caught again as he tries to get over towards Grixer to revive him. He's got to wait for this Kona station to revive itself so we can get a little juice up here. Grixer's going to try to crawl over towards him. A good chance, to be fair, that Grixer might get brought back up, but time is getting low here, and Empire are now boiling into the site. Yeti with the Nitro, but it's going to miss here. The plant's coming down from Empire, and Yeti's dead. That was the only off-site support they had. Grixer and Super have a sliver of HP remaining. The plant is down. Super will kill Scyther, but that's the only frag that's been found for the defenders so far here. Super needs to try and find a way to get in sight. The longer they wait this out, the stronger the post-plant positions are going to be, but Grixer cannot maintain. He falls. Super is all that remains here, and he goes down as well to always. Empire bring it back in overtime and trigger map number 3 of the series.
This is truly incredible from both sides, as both teams take each other's map in 8-6 fashion. Empire forcing overtime and then taking it all the way as they claim both of their rounds. It's going to take Villa to decide who can possibly win out here inside of this best of 3.
Soniqs coming so close, but cannot translate that third round on their second floor hold. Too uneasy were their wins on the defensive side, and unfortunately making the wrong site choice there. Every single move they try to make that final round is caught out. So with the renewed vigor and the renewed strength on the attacks there for Empire coming in, they instead negotiate control of our second map and take it outright inside of overtime. Getting revenge now, finding an identical scoreline to the map we had first to start off this series here. It's an 8-6 for the Soniqs on Coastline and now an 8-6 on Clubhouse. They steal each other's map picks away. Who will take the third? Well, you'll have to wait just a few minutes to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us and we'll be back with the final map between these two teams in just a few moments. Coastline in the hands of the Soniqs. Clubhouse now taken by Empire, pushing us to a third and final map to decide who our second upper bracket finalist will be to meet TSM on Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the playoff stage of the Six Invitational 2022, where we have to find ourselves a true winner. Will Europe be able to field a roster all the way to the bitter end of the upper bracket, or will it be NA domination with an inter-regional matchup to end out that part of the bracket? Let's find out as Villa is on the docket for our third and final map. And Stokes, what do you make of this final map now as we get prepared to jump into it in just a few seconds here? Of course, having the stats from the previous map as well.
Well, I mean, at least from the map choices, I would say that you just set your notes on fire at this point. Both of them taking each other's maps. Empire taking it here on Clubhouse inside of our last one, 8-6, just like we saw the Soniqs take Coastline away from Empire. And it was really a team effort when it came down to Empire's game. Obviously, these kills, not really what we saw on Clubhouse. Instead, we saw some other things happening. Actually, Grixer not having the greatest game when it came to Club in that sense. So a little bit unfortunate affair there for the Soniqs. But either way, it was an 8-6 victory for Empire, and it's led us on over to Italy. We are headed to Villa for this matchup, and really, at the current point at least, it could go either way.
Absolutely the case here. Both teams corresponding to each other in kind and really neck and neck the entire way. Some great comeback stories for both teams. The Soniqs trying to negotiate another one for themselves. They are able to take it all the way to a 6-6, but are unable to translate either of the rounds inside of overtime for the second map, which is in direct contrast to what we saw back on Coastline, where they in fact took both of them there. Now we have to push our teams to the bitter end, and it's going to be a great mix of the styles from both maps. We saw plenty of sites on Villa where our players are more aggressive ones. On the defense, will have that freedom to roam around, especially with the basement in play here, but also quite a few they're going to play quite traditionally, such as we saw back over on Clubhouse here, where teams will want to stay locked in the general vicinity of the site to try and play out the time from there. Who will win it out? Well, it's going to be the best of both worlds. It will more than likely decide our true winner, and the Soniqs, of course, need to be prepared for it. You can see both coaches, both IGLs giving in their last bits of intel here before they jump into the server and start out our final map of play.
What can possibly be done by these two squads? Well, for Empire, they've been playing a very solid game overall, as we were just talking about. Quite the team affair when it came to what they were able to do and control on Clubhouse. For Soniqs, their defensive rounds just not coming easily. Once they got to the offensive side, things finally were coming through for them, but that defense just not able to get it done. Hopefully, we can see a change up in that on Villa, as there'll just be some more strategy available to them. But enough mincing words, John. We've got a game to cast. It's the last map in between Empire and Soniqs. Who will go off to face up against TSM on Saturday? It will be one of these teams. Will it be the Russian Machine, or will it be the Soniqs? Villa starts now.
Let's find out, ladies and gentlemen, as the bands are live and the first one already on the board. No surprise there, though, as Thatcher is going to be the pick of the litter yet again here, as is often the case for our attacker bands. He's knocked out, and Habana to follow it up, so a fairly meta knockout here for both of our attackers.
Yes, indeed. We'll see if that follows suit all the way through. We'll have to see what Soniqs want to remove from Empire here for the first half of play. It's going to be the Kaid, very suspected, especially with the EMPs being removed from play. A little bit of a difficult op to try and deal with when Thatcher isn't in play, so a respectable ban out of the Soniqs. What do Empire want to remove, though? It'll be the Valkyrie here, as she has still been our most hotly banned operator here at SI, just because of all of the info, as well as just the kit overall. Great SMG, Nitro Cell on top of that. What more could you want as a defensive operator? Empire now, though, will be dictating where we start this map off, and, well, it's going to be a fairly straightforward affair. It's AVG, most plain Jane start to Villa that you can possibly get. We'll have to see how they want to set things up, but as of right now, it's looking fairly straightforward, especially with this Aruni working its way in. We see this from time to time on this site to lock up a couple of windows and just make the entry points a little bit difficult for, well, the Soniqs in this situation to work into.
Even the operator selects here are not going to be too surprising. Pretty much what you'd expect to see from both our attack and defensive lineups here. Plenty of mitigation coming in fact, tripling down on it for the defense here. As we're going to see Jaeger Roni along with the Wamai. So all three forms of that one here. They're going to have to hope the Soniqs will. They brought enough utility to dump into that one, and unfortunately they didn't really do so. Only 4 nades and 2 smokes, so more than likely going to see most of those get gobbled up unless we see a proper amount of frags utilized.
Well, it won't take too long to slap this back together, guys. Not only do we have one of the best observers in the game in Cyano, but we haven't even played a round. So he's literally just got to relaunch the lobby. It's literally going to take him 2 seconds as we get them back in. Just to let you guys know about our rehost rules, because you and I haven't had to deal with them too much here, knock on wood. All that's going to happen is they have to choose the exact same site and the exact same operators. Obviously, if anybody's 6-picked, then they choose what they initially picked, 6-pick back into the op that they had, and everything's right as rain. They will just get the site back underway, and we will have round 1 kicking off here shortly.
So we'll get Empire back into it in just a second here. Everybody from the Soniqs has already rejoined, so she'll only be about 5 or 10 seconds away from getting this one started. We'll get the bands locked in and everything too. Won't need to redo that phase. And here we go. I think we're good to go. Back inside the game. We will launch.
Any percent. There it is. Fantastic speed run there from Cyano, as you guys at home didn't even have enough time for a bathroom break. We're going to be jumping back into this one, folks, but we just want to confirm that there is no more bugs that are going to thwart us before we put this back on your screen. So just give us a second here. We'll confirm this, and then we'll jump right back into Italy to see which one of these teams can possibly move on towards Saturday and who has to fight for their lives on Friday.
There we go. Operator selects being locked out. Like we said before, folks, it's going to be the exact same lineups, but our rules here not going to allow our players to change anything up. So once more, just the same rerun of exactly what we had deployed back on that previous lock-in phase as well. So here we go, back into it yet again. Time to see if things will work out this time as Empire lock themselves into AVG. And the Soniqs look to try and assault that here. The setup shouldn't yield too many surprises just because the operator line is going to be pretty predictable too. Usual semblance of reinforcements and whatnot being deployed here. We'll see the bottom portion of that far bar wall being left soft, I think, at the beginning of this round, just to allow for a quicker rotation back from the bookcase shelf is more than likely. With the deployable shields being played out there by Shepard, we're going to see that try to be deployed over towards the main stairs position so that they can try and slow down the study clear should Soniqs attempt to go for one. They obviously want to try and have some presence on the north side too, should Soniqs try to play it out towards that way, and that's where we are going to see always and a few other members position themselves for the start of this round, as they'll be reinforcing at least the main wall to access the statuary part of the map as well.
All right, so let's see if Empire's defensive standpoint over here inside of the trophy statuary area holds true. We've been seeing some pretty interesting rounds when it comes to this site overall, especially from Damwon Gaming, that we saw work out fairly well for them. Kansan's going to take down Dan very early here on a deep cut over towards the Astros side, but he's going to take some damage in the process. Luckily enough, they still have Rex in here on the Finca, so we'll be able to buff Kansan back off, who will start us off here for round 1.
Joystick still hunting for another pickup here against the members of the Soniqs. He's going to continue to maintain this aggressive foot forward just outside of Master Bedroom, and he's got the lineup for it. Nearly got 2 there as Rexon gets dropped and traded out from the earlier kill. Kansan will look to find his own second, and nearly clips out Joystick here as he tries to work himself back into the Master Bedroom. He's on prone, but no, the intel's given, and Kansan realizes the fatal mistake he's made, but far too little time to correct it there. That's why you don't want to prone, is if your opponent sees you, it's going to take you way too long to get back up and start moving again.
Yeah, prone is broken in Rainbow Six until that happens. That's the one caveat to it. If they get solid intel, then it's just basically over for you, as you can't reposition that quickly. So Empire will negotiate 2 for 1 in favor of losing Dan, and now Empire can simply sit on this site and see what the Soniqs want to do next. They have plenty of hard breach to influence this later part of the round, and plenty of drones in order to, well, assist inside of that info department as well. Yeti will drone out 90. This is looking good for Super here. He'll more than likely apply his Selmas into this space. Does he want to put one on the panel here? Doesn't look like he does for the at least gunfault area. He'll just put an initial one and then shoot out the Selma after that to make sure that it doesn't open up a rotation. He just wants some sight lines in towards sight to make sure that people like Shepard can't rotate across games in the way that they want to.
So already 2 minutes into the round here, and Sonic struggling to try and fight for any inch of this map here, as they do actually negotiate 90 control for themselves, but without the top stairs being cleared out, Empire has a lot of tricks to be able to use to shut this down pretty much instantly. The red rotate could come into the fold here. 2 players by front stairs that could crunch against that. Grixer reading into the rotate from Joystick, at least catches him, but Yeti already running into trouble trying to access the bar walls and get him deeper into the site. He does have Overwatch for the potential rotate back up through red, so there's certainly certainly aware of the downstairs presence, not entirely ignorant towards it, but still, their plans to open up more access points into the site. It's reached the Stag there as it's going to get mute jammed out temporarily by throwing the Selma down. Quickly, however, goes back into a progressive push here, as they'll be able to open that wall back up, but there we go. The main stairs player, an easy kill against Grixer for him to find. Yeti now down, and Super, once again, left in a clutch scenario. 1v3 put before him as he waltzes into bar. There's one. He doesn't catch the player behind him, however, so time's likely going to run out, or he'll just get locked onto the plant here. And then we'll see Shepard finish things off along with Always, as Empire claim a nice, simple, and easy first round.
A valiant effort there from Super as well. He really didn't have to do any of that. It's a 1 versus 3, but he still makes the attempt as well. Guys, this game means a lot in the current moment. We'll be able to at least negotiate 1 kill, but that's going to be it. As Joystick really putting a hamper on things early here. As, well, all of that damage coming out early, taking down the Soniqs members, and now, well, for the rest of the Soniqs, not able to really do much with that 9D control. Empire will be able to get the first round as they will shift gears on over to Trophy Statuary.
Empire with the lead built up are going to now try to carry that forward onto the expected second site here as they go into TNS and see if this one will hold itself as strongly as we saw before. Expect a little bit of play to still position itself on the south side of this map here, as more than likely the Soniqs will want to clear that back out, and if Empire can maintain those positions and find a pick or two from that department, that would be even better, but not a requirement at all. And sometimes we do see teams shying away for that and going for this type of a play instead, where they set up an extended roam down on the first floor, trying to gate the pressure from here. Soniqs, of course, with drones inside of Pantry. That does mean they'll more than likely want to try and clear this out fairly early into the round, so Joystick and Scyther expect them to be first up to bat here to fend off some of the aggression from the Soniqs, as they'll be spawning out in just a few seconds here. Finka back into play as well for Rexon, along with the Twitch pickup from Grixer here, so we're going to see a very similar lineup to the Soniqs that we have seen on previous maps. Kan's even going for the comfort pick there, bringing the Zofia into play also.
Well, now we'll see if the Soniqs is able to negotiate for their very first round. Triple wall reinforced here, as you'd expect for a Trophy Statuary defense, as well as everything else in between. Empire will be holding things downstairs. This is to be expected as well, although these rotations, definitely not the case. Scyther's got some very interesting angles to be able to utilize, especially if somebody tries to push in through Laundry. But as of right now, it'll just be him and Joystick occupying the space and awaiting the arrival of the Soniqs. Rexon will actually end up moving into this area, as he's currently inside of Pantry. Able to mark out an ADS. This door has been barricaded here as well, as begin to be shot down. Joystick looking for his frag, and he's gone fishing. Oh, he sees the side of the Zof, or rather the Finka here. Was able to deal some damage towards Rexon as he doubles back over in the LMG, trying to get some work done. He will predict Joystick's location as he removes him from play, but Kansan will go down on the other end.
Great support setup here for Empire, immediately able to exchange that. Scyther's got to be careful, though, as he's now on an island by himself, and the cutoffs are strong. No! Scyther instead rips the head off of Grixer, and that's an unexpected kill at the least here. The Soniqs will be reeling from that one, as Scyther's allowed to scurry away back up red stairs after that kill.
Well, you have kitchen control now, but was it worth 2 bodies? We'll have to see if the Soniqs are able to continue on here, as Empire is starting to put on a defensive standpoint here. Able to negotiate for those 2 frags and rotate back upstairs. Now they simply have to wait for the Soniqs and see what their next move will be. They'll hold on to the red stairwell to see if anybody wants to try and push up that space, but for the Soniqs right now, it looks as though they want to try and get in towards Master. Rexon will get rid of a piece of utility inside of the area. I believe that was a bulletproof that was inside of that space that they were able to get rid of. This mute jammer will obviously continue to hold onto the wall here for Super, but not for Yeti, who can still add a torch line to that at a moment's notice.
Rest of the Soniqs trying to build up and use their utility to get them back ahead in this round. Nades chucked out, but not a whole lot of follow-up from it. So very little damage is found. Yeti in a power position here by the bathroom, but turns his tail. That could be dangerous. Thankfully, it doesn't look like anyone on Empire notices it. So no aggressive swings to try and shut him down. This very late point in the round here. Yeti, though, still gonna have a challenge thrown out against him. He doesn't try to push himself forward against that just yet. The nades instead being primed to try and find a player back by the Astro desk. Not a huge threat from there. Of course, we are gonna see Always rotating into it, so that's changed up a little bit now. But again, Soniqs, where's the play? Where's the aggression? They're pushing nothing out here. They've only got 20 seconds left. They're gonna have to force themselves into this setup anyway, so why not try it a little bit earlier here and at least get some good intel to build off of? No, we will not see that. Instead, they continue to look for an opening front. frag, and it goes pretty much how you'd expect here now that they've been forced in. Dan always, and yet he doesn't even want to give away his life, but he won't have a choice as Dan finds his own personal second. Empire with a second round now up on the board to continue crawling towards 7 on this defensive half.
Very fast and decisive 2-0 here from Empire as they decide the round early on. Once again, the Soniqs have got to get ahead of this in the current moment, just allowing too many people to be taken out without any refrags to come through. And now the Soniqs worse for wear because of it. These offenses are just not coming easily. It's now down to dining room and kitchen for Empire's defense. They've got the pulse inside of the lineup, and they're going to stick it as we pass the 6-pick phase and enter the round. Let's see how Empire want to set things up and if they're going to be able to deal some serious damage once again to the Soniqs inside of this opening minute. We should be seeing the top hold here from Empire as Master is of the utmost importance. It'll be a double Kona station set up inside of tarps here as well.
Dan going to throw the third one down onto the interior of the dining room hold here, just to boost that position a little bit for anybody that's trying to play into this into a late round spot. Obviously, that'll be a strong contention point for Soniqs to try and swing into as well. Usually the execute point, especially for North American teams here through Laundry, so great capability to try and keep that player alive for an extra shot or two should things get a little bit hairy inside of that last 30 or 40 seconds, which we would probably expect it to come down to here. Soniqs, once again, still building up towards that slow roll to execute, looking to try and play for a very safe execute as well by building off of their drone intel all the way until those dying 30 seconds are reached here, where they then want to force themselves in. This unfortunately has not led to a whole lot of success, though, as in the first 2 rounds, Empire just sat back, not oblige the aggressive angles that Soniqs try to hold there, keep their own players alive, and then when Soniqs push in, just shut them down, nice and easy.
Yes, indeed, and we'll see if Scyther's able to do this once again here, currently 2-0, but he's immediately rotating off of the master space. That is such a dangerous area to be early on, especially as the offensive onslaught starts to pour into that room. So that's exactly why he'll leave the area instead, but obviously he still wants to try and contest, so he'll play inside of statuary along with always in this location. We'll be holding on to this for a time. They have Dan all the way off to the south side over towards study. We could see him punch this window very soon. Well, actually, it's already open, so he's ahead of the game here, John, as he's looking out towards that master balcony to see if he can find any influence. And Nadow will get rid of the mute jammer there as the Selma goes down for super, and he'll open a very important angle. But Joystick, a nitro cell out to be able to get rid of that, so you won't be able to cross through it, but it's still the vision that they need. And oh no, not
3
like
rounds
this.
in a row like this.
Scyther, 2 kills early on, and once again, as you just said, John, this is not looking hot for the Soniqs. This could be the round.
3 rounds consecutively now, where Empire's been able to strike true here, pick up the first kill, and for the most part, suffer minimal losses in the exchange here, and outright just hold the advantage, as we've seen on the previous 2. Finally, Yeti gets himself on the right foot forward, though, by finding Dan, and a very dangerous access point here, as he's going to be able to find free access to white tarps. Doesn't have the full room just yet, though, and that's the big potential issue here, is he won't have the confidence to swing at a bicycle just yet, so kind of locked in here until either Super or Grixer gets in a position to support his push.
Always a pretty interesting room, especially with the rotation that you can have through that little wood panel that you guys just saw on your screen. But yeah, always very contested as well, as you can hear the angles being opened above Yeti right now. He's like, is there somebody here? Yeah, there's somebody here.
Always notices it.
Always has a very nice angle and more than likely a dead Yeti if he crosses. Oh, does he find him? Yes, he does. Yeti, I thought he heard it, and I thought that he saw the break in the floor, but just seemingly unaware. And now Grixer and Super, a lot to do.
There's no respect right now being given over to the members of the Soniqs, as the Soniqs themselves ignore some of these extended setups and are constantly paying the price for it. Grixer, some good intel. Waltzes right up. That's an easy one there, as he opens up the laundry play for Super to at least potentially push in through that avenue. But only 30 seconds left here. This is winnable for the Soniqs here, especially with that most recent trade, putting it down to a 2v3. Grixer maintains top-down control, but there is still another player in Astra that could come back to bite them at a later point here. They'll both fall back to the outer portion of the laundry door here. Grixer looking to maybe reinsert himself, but that goes right into Shepard's hands. Hook, line, and sinker. The second kill follows it up as well. A simple round yet again here for Empire, as they've shut down 3 in a row.
I mean, you can't help but be hopeful for the Soniqs to get something done inside of these rounds. Empire just time and time again destroying them inside of the opening minute. They look so dastardly at the time. There's really no way for Soniqs to fend them off, as it's always the aggressive swing coming out here that finds them 2 kills time and time again. So now for for the Soniqs, it's going to be the timeout as they've already lost 3 rounds in a row. You have to be feeling for them in a certain sense. I really thought this was going to be a lot more hotly contested, but I mean, there really isn't anything happening for the Soniqs in the moment. Every single one of them is negative at the time as always, and the rest of the squad have simply found their stride here on defense.
So the tactical pause is called, as you might expect here. The Soniqs having 3 very one-sided rounds to start this map out doesn't give their team the best of hope to close out this series and stay alive in the upper bracket to face off against TSM in the final match of it. But still, there's been similar rebounds from this team on both of the previous maps. And they're going to look to field yet another one here on the 3rd and final one. We'll see if the intuition coming in now from Jober as well as Super is going to be enough to develop a new winning strategy for this team, as the pause has already expired. And we're heading back in game and back to the AVG hold as Empire start to unlock the sites they've already won.
Such a dominant showing from Empire so far as they are taking it to the North American squad that seriously needs some help in the moment. We'll have to see if the TAC timeout possibly assists them as Empire will shift gears on over to AVG and see if they can do it all over again and stop this 3rd map early on in its tracks. Luckily enough, the Soniqs time and time again have fought back from this deficit, so there's still an opportunity here for them in order to do so. It's going to be a pretty routine setup here for Empires. They'll be applying their utility around the space. Always will lock up the single panel here, as well as still having those Aruna gates on joystick to lock up a couple of these doors and force Soniqs to give away some more utility if they do want to access that entry point.
So similar setup also going to be deployed here by Empire. Lots of mitigation coming in. All 3 of the Nade Eaters have been brought into the lineup for Empire once again, as they're going to have the Womai discs, the Jaeger ADSs, as well as those laser gates to try and shred through the utility set of the Soniqs. And once again, Soniqs really not having enough of their own utility to be able to deal with this, but what they do have is the Twitch drone here, which can just knock a lot of that mitigation down outright. And a much better start to this round being found. Rexon walking right in through the front door. It's a quick follow-up too. Rexon misses the top stairs player though. No! It turns around so quickly, and it gets even worse from there as joystick assists and fending off the potential study retake there. The refrag that could have happened on the top stairs player. Soniqs, less than a minute into the round, have already lost 3 out of 5 of their roster and have only traded out a single kill.
Rushes are good and rushes are fun, but sometimes they're not good fun, and that's exactly what's going to happen inside of this. 3 bodies down for the Soniqs early, and once again, a lot to do inside of a 2 versus 4 here. Able to find some information, but they definitely already knew Shepard was inside of this space after losing 2 bodies early to him. Grixer now will get off of the rappel and try and negotiate for the space below him, but he'll hop on drone first to make sure that no one is around the area. And this is just looking bleak for the Soniqs in the moment. As for Empire, though, I mean, my God, time and time again, they're able to deal some very serious blows to the Soniqs, and once again, looking to take round 4 here and go up 4 rounds to 0. Grixer is going to shift across the map as we'll end up going up Astronomy and through Mudroom, but he's been discovered by the default cam that's still up inside of the space.
Grixer and Super here trying to work basically against the world as, yeah, Dan is dead, but everyone else in the site is alive. And unfortunately, I don't believe that Twitch drone run from Rexon really dealt with a whole lot of the utility. You can see there's still 2 ADSs as well as 1 laser gate blocking off access over here through Death's Door. So they're going to have a lot of work cut out for them. Even with Grixer having access to the second one, it'll try to sneak itself in. But as you can see, not a lot being deleted here. Joystick primed and ready to go from the top of the map table. And once he sees 2 sets of tracers, he's going to know he won't even have to be worried about his backside. More than likely his teammates to watch out for that also. So he'll feel pretty safe here as there you go. Lasering out Super as he goes down. The last player, Grixer, can't even peek the doorway anymore as it's been toxiced out. He's going to try to chuck in the smoke, banks it off the wall. Another one bleeds too close to him, and there we go as he's flooded into the open. Joystick finishes out the round. It is Empire making a dominating run here on Villa. 4 rounds in a row, and the Soniqs haven't even come close to trading one out yet.
Yeah, and the Soniqs, they're up the creek without the paddle right now. no attack timeout in order to assist them. It's going to be all down to the IGLing of Super to get them out of this, as it's starting to look like the lower bracket will be their home for Friday. Won't be able to use that break like Empire will more than likely be able to if they continue on this warpath. It's trophy statuary now for Empire as they continue to extend this lead.
Now, we have seen some comebacks in the past 2 maps, but this is going to start to be asking a little bit too much of the Sonics if they can't negotiate both of these upcoming rounds here, as they'll always, of course, just be repeats of the sites that Empire already won. That's going to leave Empire with a dominating scoreline. Even the side advantage being considered won't be, at least in my book, enough of an argument to justify Sonics' comeback. They're going to have to really find some heroic plays here to be able to get them back into this map and in this series if they want to keep this upper bracket run alive here with the way that Empire is currently strangling out all these attacks.
Well, only Dan really suffering the consequences of Sonics' offensive side. Everyone else able to blow Sonics away every single time they end up swinging through. Empire going to hold on to the basement yet again here, or rather the kitchen dining space. Well, this worked out pretty handily for them the last time. This is where we ended up seeing the cross from Joystick and one other op from Empire that were able to hold on to this for the time being. Ended up getting 2 big kills onto the Sonics inside of this area, and once again, not able to find their mark. So we'll see if the Sonics can change it up this time around as they clamber up towards the master balcony.
Already going to start to see some of the members of Empire extended out here. That Twitch drone dart will be seen by Dan. Not going to see any player to follow it up so quickly, however, as the Sonics have yet to work their way in through Art Studio. Grixer still well outside the window, trying to maybe catch, as he probably saw Dan at some point there before the drone was pushed away, but yeah, now Grixer really trying to reaffirm that as well before he potentially crosses away from this one, waiting to see if there's any hope of him maybe catching Dan, but looks like they're both going to just safely back away from each other here, and Dan will start to slowly crawl back towards the site now that a minute or so of the round has been wasted.
Yes, indeed, and a much slower start here for both of these teams. Empire with no huge picks to consider here early on, especially since Sonics haven't been able to show face. Simply waiting outside of the building for the current moment. Rexon will be the first one in. There's a hole above this angle here as a nade goes out, but it won't be able to collect anything except the central battery for that. So we'll see if they want to end up applying utility to that space. Instead, it'll initially go down inside of the master closet here, as they'll be able to make a rotate. Intro's out now, or rather a frag grenade be able to hold on to that. Looks like the Selma will be able to at least get the bottom of that panel open here for the Sonics, as already halfway through this round. Nades out towards construction now, and Rexon finally able to find a kill for the Sonics inside of the opening minutes.
Unfortunate for Dan, as I think he actually just got to this position here and has already found himself to be the ugly duckling in terms of positioning here, has unfortunately become victim of a very well-placed nade, working itself in for the Sonics. First time they get an opening kill here, I do believe, as well, that is not going to be immediately exchanged out by the members of Empire at a minimum. A minute left, though, and again, this is where I'm going to start to get worried for the Sonics' sake, as they have struggled to continue to maintain this position. Other big problem, look at the top right of your screen now, folks. All drones have been used from the Sonics. They have none left, and there's still 45 seconds left to play.
Fortunately, I think they have a singular Twitch drone that I saw Kansan just get on, so maybe some intel that they can possibly use here inside of the last minute, but it's going to be risky either way. They've gotten the player off the Astro window now as well, so it's going to be a fairly straightforward affair here now as the Sonics have to get going. Yet he started to take some damage, and a very serious kill here from Joystick to equalize. Shepard will continue to hold onto the bathroom door. Scyther to take down Grixer as well. Scyther to take down quite a few. Super to finally fight back, but Shepard's got him. It's all up to Kansan inside of the bathroom. He'll double back. Here's the cases on concrete. It's a 2 versus 1. He can indeed achieve this if he can find the first frag. That bulletproof, though, is going to tell where he is as he tries to stick this plant, and more than likely will die here in a moment. Shepard to swing out in 5 rounds in a row for the Empire squad.
Trades are strong, at least for the Sonics this time. They can contend with the numbers, but once more, it is not enough. By the time we reach the end point of the round here, they have no positioning and no time left to be able to try and fake out the plant and give them access to a potential clutch there. 5-0 is the run now being made from Empire, with a very plausible 6-0 sitting in front of them if they can claim one one final round on this defensive side. This is a huge fall from grace for the Sonics, not the performance that we would have expected to come out from this team given the way they played in the first 2 maps, but they have been stunted here. Cannot get anything going on this attacking side. Like I said, coming a little bit closer on that last round, but nowhere near close enough to negotiate site control here, as we're going to return to a kitchen hold for the final round of the half.
Yes, indeed. And past that, a 6 pick for Shepard here as he's going to be applying these frost mats very early on. One's going immediately down inside of the pantry space. This is usually an area that won't really be checked out initially. They'll check out what's going on inside of the site and try and hop the window and more than likely lose their life because of it. But we'll have to see what the Sonics are able to do. Past that, it looks like they've identified a lot of the hot spots that Sonics like to use for this site. And that's where all of these frost mats are going. One's going to go inside a bike. Definitely could see one over here inside of the mudroom as well on that single window, but we'll have to see what Shepard has in mind. As for the Sonics, though, only moments away from getting back onto the map, and also with a 6 pick coming in from Grixer, who has been dead quiet since that very first map where he dropped some very serious numbers on Coastline. Was not the same player when it came to club and is currently sitting at 2-5.
Sonics are out on the map here, looking to clear out some of these early holds from Empire. Not necessarily too keen on flushing out anything over on the second floor, though, despite the fact that, again, we're going to see the roster. Actually, no sledge to be seen here for our attackers. Never mind. Not really trying to build in towards that at all. Of course, the team mainly wants to focus on the site, their pantry entrance, as well as a few other key areas on the map. Rexon will head upstairs and start positioning himself here, and Grixer has already made a successful insertion towards the basement. So, going to look to carry this position forward, see if he can lurk over towards either red stairs or another pivotal position here to maybe catch some of the members of Empire. But will Dan, or Shepard for that matter, be watching out for it? That's now the next question here, as Grixer wants to push his own drone forward. This is all on him right now, not relying on any support from his teammates to be able to make any more forward push and gain any further map control for the team.
Who needs a team when you've got a knock and some drones to be able to push yourself forward? We'll see if the utility from him can possibly assist as that Hell Presence gets turned back on. Going to climb up red right now. Has some good audio cues as well, but not extremely aware of where the positioning could be. Always also seemingly aware that somebody could be downstairs. That could have been the end of Grixer, but fortunately for him, he'll double back and start working towards the other end of the basement. For the Sonics now, they're starting to clear out some of this utility on site. Thankfully to Kansan, he's got the lifeline, so he'll pop open that laser gate as well as get rid of some of the utility initially right outside of the laundry door. Super will be able to apply his Selma charges, and they've also found that welcome mat downstairs in the pantry stairwell, so no one will end up being taken out, at least in that sense.
Grixer, though, still moving forward.
Oh, super unfortunate.
Yep, he's got a barricade blocking his way there, so not going to be able to safely proceed past that, even with the drone support here. Make too much noise would give him away, and no, even with the rotation, Joystick puts him on ice, shuts him down. The Nitro's out. I think he got shot, though, so no boom to follow that one up. But either way, a clean opener being picked up by Empire, and again, Sonics are running low on time to get into the site.
Just super unfortunate for the Sonics right now. Like, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but Empire have just been running amok on this map, and this is not my NA colors bleeding through. I just really want to see a game between these two. It's unfortunate that we've reached this point, but Empire's just been so very dominant as they continue on. Shepard will take down Kansan, Dan to find one of his own, and it's down to the 2 versus 4 now. They have to try and fight out with only 20 seconds remaining. Already has the pantry rotation shut down, as well as Yeti's once again looking towards Bike, but if he hops in, is he going to jump into the frost mat? He will indeed. He gets taken down, and Empire with a clean 6-0 half.
Fatal mistake potentially being made for the folks on the Sonics by allowing this map to stay in the pool. Felt they were ready for it, but unfortunately, very straightforward attacking lineups here and strategies to follow suit as well, with maybe 1 or 2 players trying to act as the curveball like we saw there with the Nook play, trying to work itself in from the basement, putting way too much pressure on 1 or 2 players here to save the rest of the team's assault. And if 1 or 2 of those players end up going awry, they end up dying or something like that, they're not really left with any alternate plan. Like I said, incredibly one-dimensional attacks, just kind of waltzing right into the site, trying to force the issue on every single round, that it goes exactly as you would expect. Empire never really feeling challenged in their setup, sit back, casually rip them to shreds every single time, and a very well-deserved 6-0 lineup is picked up here in the first half here. Only 1 out of the next 6 needs to be claimed by Empire, and the series is theirs, and they'll have a date with Destiny against TSM in the upper bracket finals.
What an incredible series that has reached up to this point. It's a 6-0 lead now for Empire, something I did not think that we'd be seeing coming into Villa. I thought this would be hotly contested, but obviously not. Empire just different breeds when it comes to this map in the current moment. Now we'll have to see if the Soniqs can get a long path ahead of them solved, as well, as of right now, it's a perfect half that's required for them and not a single person on solid footing when it comes to the frag department. For Empire, though, I mean, you got to be happy for them. A 6-0 half is nothing to scoff at, and one that they continually were able to just damn Soniqs, not even inside of the opening minute, even though it did happen from time to time, but also forcing them into these low time executes that simply will not work. It's very unfortunate for them, as time and time again, Empire were able to find their mark inside of those opening minutes and take down some very serious members of the Soniqs. And now a very fast-moving offense here from Empire's Joysticks already in through Laundry, through Dining, and through Tarps with a drone ahead of him.
So not going to see a whole lot of action here. I doubt the Soniqs are going to be too confident to make any types of crazy plays here inside of their defensive half. They need to be oh so careful, as if they lose too many players inside of the early round here, they are done and dusted and won't be able to defend the interior of the site here. Despite that, though, we are going to see a hold downstairs, and that's bad news. Yeti being isolated out. Can't do anything to trade that out either here, as the nade is clean from down below here. No one in position to find that yet. Yeti is nearby, however, over towards Library, so he's going to know that there's presence by White Tarps and Kitchen, and will try to trade that back out. He's been found. Over Joystick is given a chance to duck away here, and he's not even going to re-challenge it. He's gone here, giving Grixer, unfortunately, a lost opportunity for a trade. As I correct myself there, it's Grixer here, not Yeti.
Well, yeah, Yeti already 6 feet under in this situation. Fortunately for Grixer, though, he won't take any damage on the back end of that engagement. It'll be Joystick instead with another nade out here into Rexon's location. He'll back away here as the Goyo shield goes off. Another nade out here, but Rexon's playing the cross here for Split. Are they aware that he's in this area? Now he looks away at the last second. The timing, truly insane from Always, as he's gifted yet another kill. Dan picks up Kansan, and oh, this is not looking good, John. The Soniqs not able to kill a single member of Empire just yet, and only 1 minute and 10 seconds remain in order for them to try and shut this down.
Empire looking to make a statement to end this series, and they just might get it done here. A 2v5 needs to be won out here. Super needs to summon his strength yet again, and Grixer needs to come back into this fight here, just like we saw on map number 1, but it might just be asking too much of this roster as we enter the final minute of play. Super's leaned out. He wants the fight. So does Grixer, but he can't maintain as he's flushed out by 2 different players. Super, the only one left. He can fend out a Gemini clone, but he can't stop the plan. It's a flawless round from Empire, and a perfect map as well. 7-0 in map number 3 as they push themselves into the grand finals of the upper bracket against TSM.
How do we even get to this moment for Empire after the first 2 maps that we witnessed? An 8-6 victory for Soniqs on Coast, an 8-6 victory for Empire on Clubhouse, and then 7-0 on Villa? Never in my days did I think that I would see that at the end of this best of 3, but yet here we are, as the Russian machine will not break.
So Empire carries forward, keeps the hope of the EU League alive in the process here, as it will indeed be an EU versus NA matchup. Empire also now serves as the guardian to potentially stop TSM from having their best placement finish yet at SI. They finished 3rd place in 2020, 4th place in 2021, and are now looking to go for a minimum guaranteed 2nd place by knocking out Empire. But they'll have to get past the Russian machine first to guarantee that, or have to fight through the lower bracket. That'll be for Saturday, folks, but either way, in this matchup, Empire reign victorious with a dominating stance on the final map of the series.
What an insane Villa out of Empire. Utter dominance when it came to the opening engagements that just led through to everything else that we saw. There wasn't a single answer that the Soniqs had. They threw everything except the kitchen sink at them. We even saw a rush up the main stairs that Shepard was just like, meh.
I'll catch this.
I'll catch this. Don't worry about it, guys. I'll take the 1 versus 2 and I'll win it out. Such an insane series from Empire, especially, as not only do they take the Soniqs map on Clubhouse, but they steal Villa away in such convincing fashion.
So probably not going to see Villa in the pool anymore for the Soniqs.
Probably
Keep in
not.
mind, they're not done just yet either. They've got to fight it out in the lower bracket, so a rematch could potentially be seen in the future, and I'll be very excited for that one if we do get it. But for the 2 of us, we're done for the day, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to send it to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the command center ready to break things down.